already good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm going to BlizzCon soon also. And yeah, it is a lot of traveling and stuff. Did you guys go to the
Yeah.
last TwitchCon?
No, I haven't been to TwitchCon since the Berlin one.
I went to TwitchCon in 2019, and it was one of the most annoying and frustrating things that I've ever done. There was like a lot of drama. Zizaran, we went to dinner that time. Remember,
We did,
we
yeah.
had lunch together. Yeah.
I remember. I was very surprised because you called me PC child, and I didn't know you watched me since that far back.
Oh yes, I remember. And back in the old days. And yeah, that was the last TwitchCon I went to. But
Wow.
maybe one day I'll come back.
I went to the content creator thing on the last one. Like last year was the first TwitchCon back. And I met one person that I had met before. That's it. Normally it's like 50. It's just so many new streamers. And obviously the just chatting IRL streamers are all there because that's peak content. So
Yeah.
All the old guard is not going, or what? They've already seen it.
it seems like
Yeah, pretty much. It's also like you're almost guaranteed to get sick. Like you end up with like COVID, a flu, or something. You'll get something. Like you might as well go like lick door handles. And it's like, oh, I hate getting sick.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, sometimes whenever I go to those conventions, like everybody around me will get sick. It's nuts. Like to me, I'm the kind of guy like I go to a convention like that and I'm just there to take pictures with like viewers or something and then I leave. That's it. So
But you
I'm
don't
not
get
a
sick,
big
right?
fan of- No, I mean very rarely. Sometimes it happens. I've had a bit of a cough recently, but that's about it.
Do you think it's because you like cultivate so much stuff in your room that like your immune system's just like already?
I
like,
certainly hope so. Yeah, that's the plan. Exactly. Yeah. You can't be you can't get sick by anything if you already have everything.
Awesome.
This is
Yeah,
the strategy. Asmon is preparing for, he's going to be invincible at some point.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the plan. It'll take a while, but it'll get there. But
Looking at that
yeah, I've
poison
just
rest.
been yeah, I've been just sitting at home like playing Diablo 4 pretty much all day for like the past almost week now. And what do you guys thought of the season?
Yeah, fair. Actually, I want to do like a quick intro before we start,
shit,
so
really?
we can like
Okay,
upload
I'll
to
just-
YouTube and stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you're good. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Diablo 4 podcast. With me today is Asmongold, Kripp, and Wudijo. Thank you all for joining me here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I started calling the podcast the Prime Evils. I figured Asmongold can be Lilith.
Well, okay. I mean, all right,
Is
that's
this
fine.
like a democratic election? Do we
I mean, I've dressed up like a girl before. It's fine.
Nice.
Yeah. Anything for the viewers.
That was good. I wanted to start off with just like a quick what you've been playing, like hardcore, softcore, and like what build you've been playing. We can start with Woody.
Yeah, I started the season with Rogue. I guess that comes as no surprise. I like Rogue a lot. And I started with Tissing Blades for the race on hardcore. That was a lot of fun. And after that, I respected Rate of Arrows, which is like the big new thing on Rogue this season, I would say. And that was really cool, actually. I had a lot of fun with that. Right now, I'm just respecting and experimenting with the new uniques. There's a lot of things to explore, which I have fun with.
Yeah. Kripp.
well, I started off playing the Golem Necro because Minion Necro and especially Golem got a lot of buffs, and I was actually playing a Golem Necro before all of those buffs, so it's like, hey, this build's gonna do like 7 times more damage, and I'm like, well, it's already pretty good. And then they nerf like crit scaling. It's like, well, you can't even scale minions crit, so that's just perfect. So that build is way better than it was before, but it's still, yeah, minion AI things. I got it to 100 and killed Uber bosses though. And I got a few drops that led me to play a Firewall Sork with the X-Fall ring, so I'm like level 98 and 3 bars now, so probably by the end of the podcast I'll be 100 for the second time.
Oh yeah, you're playing right now. I
Grinding.
forget you.
Yeah.
Love it. Asmon, what about you?
Oh, I got level 100 on a Sork. I'm playing that Ball Lightning. I killed Uber Lilith for the first time, and it was pretty easy. She didn't do anything, and so it made it a lot easier. And besides that, let me think. What else really did I do? I did Duriel. I've been trying to leech out some Uber kills to get those uniques and make sure I get all that. And I leveled all the way to 100 already, and it's been pretty fun. I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. That's really good. And then Woody, you were first level 100 on hardcore, right?
I wasn't the first. I was the first on solo though, it seems.
Oh,
There
okay.
was Oogie Boogie who was he was a bit faster, like 2 hours faster, but he grouped with someone and then his teammate died, so he finished it solo, but I couldn't catch him. So
Oh, damn. Well, it's gonna be interesting next time with ladder in season 3. It'll be.
yeah, I'm really
A lot
looking
of
forward
fun.
to that for sure.
I really hope they add an actual solo self-found mode because I hate I'm not a big fan of self-imposed rules, but I also feel like self-imposed rules is how you get solo self-found. But yeah,
Mhm.
Kinda
I
annoying.
mean, we have
This is gonna
Rob
be
doing a
weird.
really great job at, forcing the devs to make solo self-found mode, so I'm not sure if you have been paying attention to Rob just leeching Duriel non-stop, like he has like 500 kills or something.
Wow.
Have they said what they would do with like a leaderboard thing? Like I imagine if it's just levels, it's kind of lame.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
think they have
guessing they'll do a Nightmare Dungeon one, right?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
they said they want to introduce a new system, like a new game system. I imagine something like Rifts a bit in D3, and that is going to be in like a leaderboard system as well. So
Right.
we don't have the details, but something like that.
Huh.
And maybe they're going to do more stuff. I mean, they could do 1,000 different things with leaderboards, right? They can even like add more leaderboards over the seasons.
I think
Yeah.
they didn't want to add in leaderboards because they didn't want people to see how unbalanced the game was.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
with
what I
all the
think.
busted, broken, bugged builds, like, I mean, it wouldn't really make sense anyway until, yeah, they fix all
Well,
that, which is
Here's the thing, right? Is like everybody, like anytime, how many of you guys have been accused of playing a broken build?
Well, it depends. Usually, okay, so if you're playing your own build that you made and chat's like,
Yeah.
oh, your build's broken, that's like a good thing. But then
Right.
if you get it like certified broken rated by like Reddit
Mhm.
or like a content creator, then that's a bad thing, right? So you're probably
Yeah.
getting the negative side of that as one because Rax ousted your build as the most overpowered this league. But if you made that build for the first time and then other people started copying you, then it's like, whoa, Asmon's build's broken, and then you're living the high life.
And that's what I thought too. Until I watched Rob one-shot Uber Duriel on a 4-man
That thing is
group.
broken.
That is broken. I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to hear any more about how other people my build is broken whenever I can see shit like that. No.
Yeah. I was
Well-
playing like pen shot for a very long time just for like super good clear. And I was using items that everyone considers trash. Like what's the bow I'm using? I was about to call it Skyforce. Sky something?
Windforce.
Sky Hunter? Yeah, I'm using
Sky
Sky
Hunter.
Hunter, which everyone's like, Sky Hunter's trash. And I'm like, no, it's not. You just don't know how to use it. Because I'm using it with Hemomancy, and I one-shot the entire screen with just the vampire ability. So I'm just like, I'm
Jesus.
rolling through the instance. And like
Yeah.
at one point, I was almost one-shotting the elites. And then I had like no single target though for a very long time. And then I switched to rapid fire, and then I one-shot Lilith. Well, almost one-shot Lilith. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I saw your clips of what you linked to me. Like, looks pretty decent actually. I'm also playing some pen shot rapid fire right now, so I think you have a kind of similar thing, but I'm not using
Yeah.
the bow.
I think Rogue's like the most balanced. I mean, I think it was in season
Typical
02,
rogue
but like,
comment.
well, okay. So I'm usually a Sork main. I just love that I feel like you can do anything with Rogue. You can do Death Trap. You can do Rain of Arrows. You can do I mean, you can do a lot of builds. Whereas like on other things, I feel like you have less choice. I'm a
I have
Rogue
to
person
say-
now.
I have to say, Rogue definitely feels really strong right now. It was just like, Rogue has like this much smaller scaling curve than other classes. It's kind of like it starts decently high, it goes fast, and then it doesn't scale as crazy as like, back then we had like Tornado Druids, with like they were just like
Yeah.
cruising through T100 dungeons and stuff like that, right? We had Bone Spear, Necros, and all that, and Rogue never got to that level, but it was just like good all the way. And now like everything has been kind of like tuned down, but Rogue is like slowly creeping up as a result, I feel. So
Yeah.
Rogue is really strong now, I would say. But not like obscene, I think. It's just fast.
Yeah. Although people kept accusing me of using some sort of poison bug, but I don't think that works on my build. I don't even know what the poison bug is.
There's like 7 of those, but yeah.
Oh.
So you,
I think
you
that's like a
probably are
two-
using one of them from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
From what I understood, it's like when you attack like multiple times, but I only attack once.
Yeah, it has like the biggest poison block has to do with twisting blades, and you're not using that, so
Right.
you're good. You're ethical enough, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's been a lot of changes in season 2, so I do know I wish we had more stash tabs, but we can talk a little bit about the season 2 changes. Like, how do you guys feel about the XP changes?
It's very fast. I hit level 100 before I got all of my glyphs leveled up to 15.
Yeah.
Well,
It's extremely fast.
I can kind of
it's
see that.
roughly-
I can kind of see that coming. So I just like when I was like 90, I'm like, why am I doing helltide right now? Because in 10 levels I can do helltide after I hit 100, and I could get 925 loot from helltide a lot easier, especially from the mobs that I kill for it. So around like 90, I stopped doing anything besides nightmare dungeons, and I did like monsters that are 100 and higher nightmare dungeons, so I could start getting my endgame gear. And then after I got 100, I went back to helltide. So doing that, I got 2 glyphs to 21 and 3 at 15.
Yeah. Wow. You played a lot.
Yes.
In general, like it was kind of interesting to see like how much faster the race was. Like when launch came around, it was like 4 days. It was like
Yeah.
like roughly 80 hours or something. It was really close to 80 hours when I did like the first like race to 100, and then came season 1. It was like almost half. It was like 38 or so, almost exactly half. And now we are again half of that this season. So it was literally like one session, 20. Like for me, it was 20
Yeah.
hours, and that was it basically. And it was very interesting to see, I must say. And I mean, they said it's 40% faster, but it's way faster than that, because I think a lot of people, like, you know, they were going like 40% faster from like the latest patch, but the latest patch had already introduced like a lot of stuff during season 1, right? There was like 2 or 3 separate XP buffs during season 1 that
Yeah.
most people just completely missed. And now everyone was so taken by surprise how quick it is, I suppose.
Well, it's
Yeah.
also the
Higher density.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's what I was gonna say. Is like did you guys do like from 1 to 50? Did you guys do the leveling areas like the new like kind of blood tide?
The green helltide, yeah.
Teal, the green helltide basically. Like that was it was actually really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it a
Yeah.
lot.
Me too, I also did that actually. Instead of like just doing tunnel grind, I just went there, and it was super fun.
I think it also feels good as a mechanic to see that it's something that you can contribute to your endgame character that you can start doing at like level 5, right?
Yeah.
Like most other mechanics, you just can't approach them until maybe world tier 3 when you start doing like helltide, right? Like that's the first thing that you contribute to your endgame before season 2. But yeah, with the vampire zones, it was pretty evident. You do like 1 or 2, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna need a lot of this currency.
Yeah. No, I don't think I liked either XP. I don't think I liked the before or the after. It kind of made me appreciate just what most ARPGs do, which is like have a non-linear XP curve. Because what Diablo 4 does, I feel like 80 to 81 isn't a very different speed than 99 to 100. And I think I prefer when you get to like anywhere between 90 and 96 pretty fast. And then the last 4 levels take a while, and you have something to like grind and chew. And there's not a like crazy good power behind that, right? It's just like an achievement to get. I really like that. So like maybe getting to like 96 or 98 even, like what takes level 100 now, and then maybe twice that for level 100, without it being like a crazy reason to do it. That I think I prefer that.
It's hard to say because I feel like at a certain level, like some of the glyphs, getting them up to 21, in the process of getting them all up to 21, you probably would have accrued enough experience to have gotten level 100. Because like that's what it was for me, at least back in season 1, is that even whenever I was level 100, I was like min-maxing out a couple of extra glyphs, etc. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. But I would be okay if like there was a soft cap at, let's say, 95. Sure.
Yeah.
You can always introduce a death penalty, right?
True.
Uh-oh. They'll have to pay attention.
True. I don't really have any takes on softcore because I don't play softcore. So it's like they can do whatever. Doesn't matter to me. But yeah, I don't know. I did like you said, really like the season mechanic though. I think it was really well done and added a lot. But I'm also a little surprised. So at League Start, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Vampire Powers went past level 3. And I wonder if that was like a
Really?
last minute hotfix. Because I had a guy in my chat,
Yeah.
actually several people, that had some of the powers at level 5, and we didn't know how high they went. So he had spammed Hemomancy, and his was
Yeah.
doing 120% of his health as physical damage.
Wait,
And he
what?
was like,
was
wow,
it, was
how
it
high
like
this...
was it like retroactively changed then, or what?
So
Was
he
it-
relogged, and now it was capped at level 3. So he was like, "Don't relog," and like I think I had one at level 3 and moving towards level 4, but that makes me wonder if like the blood like rewards and stuff from the board was supposed to keep going, because I feel like the blood rewards don't make any sense, right? The last thing, or actually even the what's it called, the season journey, the last reward is a shit ton of that blood. But there's no way you're getting all the way to the last part of the season journey without having maxed your
having
vampire
maxed.
powers. Like you max the
Yeah.
vampire powers in like 12 hours, I'd say.
So
I think they didn't expect people to play the entire like leveling process in those like blood tides.
Maybe.
In the green helltides, yeah. That might be why.
That's certainly part of it, but I also think this may have been like a more localized bug because like we had the delayed rollout of the season. We're just kind of skipping past that part, right? So I think maybe some people were playing a few different like local patches at the time, because I know a lot of people, they went into like dopamine tunnels or whatever.
Yeah,
I just did the mechanic once, and I'm like, hey, it's pretty good. So I just did the mechanic. I did the mechanic the whole time, and none of my things went past 3. And I doubt whoever was in your chat was doing it much faster than I was. So I think
Right.
I think it was just some people, because they were just. I think it was a real scramble on day 0
Yeah.
for them to
Yeah.
get the league out.
when they previewed the patch, they I think they said that it's only going to level 3. Like they gave us the values of every level 3 power like before the patch
Okay.
came out. So I think this was probably just some bug or something that they had like
Right.
maybe internal data for higher levels, and that somehow went to the live.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. But I found like a lot of the rewards and awards like continuing to be the blood like really odd for something that maxes so fast. And
I mean, it's good for your odds though. You can make an
right, that's true. That's true.
True.
It does
Yeah.
make it better, and like I think overall the bloods and being able to like level them up was kind of annoying because you would have to continue clicking it every single time. It would be nice to
Yeah.
be like, basically the gacha equivalent of a 10 pull, right? Like you just use 10 of them at a time. Let's just get this done and move on. Like I feel like it kind of became effectively a formality. But overall, I thought that the mechanic, and this is one thing I didn't like about the blood mechanic, is that leveling up the different little icons underneath the gear, the sigils that they had that you have to like match up for your blood powers, they became like a barrier for me wanting to use new gear. Because I didn't want to use new gear because, like the hemomancy thing was like really strong for like pulling a bunch of mobs in. And, for leveling, that's really good. So I would have liked if kind of the costs scaled with like the level of them. So like maybe you wouldn't have to deal with like managing all of those like right early on. That's like kind of a minor thing that like you're probably only going to encounter in like the first 2 days of gameplay. But for me, it was an annoyance.
Yeah. That's fair.
And
I got so many of those things that I didn't have the same.
I agree with Asmon, actually. I had the same problem when I was leveling up. I was like,
It's
I
like
really don't
level
want
30,
to.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you're like P50 at least, you have like no materials, and you're just like, okay, I really want to swap to this plus 300 armor chest now, but I lose my power. Like, it was also kind of some decision making, but it also felt kind of bad not equipping that high level gear. So, I agree.
I think my biggest issue this season was somehow veiled crystals. I was out of veiled crystals the entire season. I have 600 forgotten souls and 200 veiled crystals.
I don't know what game
Oh
you're
my
playing.
god, that's a lot of helltides.
And everyone in my chat is like, why do you have so many
Yeah.
forgotten souls? And I'm like, I don't know, I have no crystals. I'm none. I'm out the entire league. And I see like complaints all the time about forgotten souls, and I'm like, how are you guys getting crystals? What am I doing differently? I haven't done that many nightmare dungeons, but still. Like,
I
just
heard
like
the
live
same
in
complaint.
Helltide.
I heard from people as well, they're running out of crystals, and I'm sitting here, I have like 5,000 crystals. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Are you not
How do you
salvaging your
survive?
gear?
Well, that's the thing. So, like, do you like not loot all the gear? Like, because usually whenever I do a nightmare
Yeah, I have
dungeon,
3,000
especially
right
like early on, yeah, like I'll just loot everything and then just salvage after an entire
now. Are
run.
you salvaging this? Because
I
I think
do.
that might be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
difference.
I salvaged a lot, like
I
a
salvage
lot.
Really?
everything. I have too much gold. I haven't been able to run out of gold this.
I don't
this
salvage
patch.
blue stuff, but like, which it tilts me that I see blue stuff, but
Yeah. People are saying you might be selling too much stuff if you're out of veiled crystals. I kind of feel that too, because I experienced that
didn't
at
sell anything the
in
entire
pre-season
season.
a bit, and in season 1 I experienced a bit. But in this one, I was always short on Forgotten Souls, so I wasn't able to reroll anything. And when I was approaching 100, I had like 200 million gold. I'm like, how much am I gonna need to reroll? Like, I know they redid the system, but like,
I feel like
did.
gold is no longer a limiting variable.
Yeah, gold is crazy.
I wouldn't say that, man. You can still ramp up the gold cost a
Yeah,
lot.
it's
So
not-
I have like a
I'm
glove.
sure if you get
you
really
get that
unlucky, it
piece.
becomes limiting.
Yeah, I have like
Yeah.
that glove, man. It's like perfect, and I'm trying to roll crit on it, and I can't get more than 4% crit. It's so sad. Like,
Oh no. Yeah, I got
it's
pretty
got-
lucky
costs
with a
like
lot of my
100
gear.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done as many nightmare dungeons probably. Like I only got all my glyphs to 15, and then I've just been living in like helltide, green helltide, a lot of whispers, and mostly focusing on like Duriel farms. So just every single time there's a helltide, I've been doing that. And honestly, I kind of hate helltide, like
Yep.
especially for casual players. It's awful. I think they should, even if they like keep the awards exactly the same and don't make it 2 helltides every 2 hours and make it 1 helltide every hour. I have so many casual players in my chat that they have like maybe an hour here and there to play. If they log in and there's no helltide, they can't do Duriel. Like they just can't do Duriel. It's
it's
awful
like a
for casual
50-50
players.
chance, though.
Helltide is
like-
there are too many things that you have to do in Helltide. You need to get the stuff for summoning Duriel from Helltide, and you also need to get Helltide for Forgotten Souls. So
Yeah.
like it's like this massive bottleneck that, and it's also like, I'll be real, doing the green Helltide, the new one, for the seasonal mechanic, made me realize that Helltide sucks. Because the new one is 1,000 times better. There's
Yeah.
like these special rares that spawn that drop better gear. They drop better stuff. They're just more interesting. There's more
Yeah, it
objectives
added
to do.
so much
There's
to the
higher
game. I love
density.
it.
Yeah, it's great. And so then you go back and you play the old Helltide, and it's like, this isn't really so good. And now I have to get 300 of these twice. Oh my god!
It's part of the pack size. You can't go down. You know, you're addicted. You're addicted to pack size,
Yeah.
and you can't take any steps back. Like preseason especially, I thought the best mechanic in their entire game was Helltide, and I think they actually slightly increased the density since that version of the game. And now it just feels bad because everything else, it's like pack size, it's clear speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would add a lot if it was constantly on, because then like especially early game, like obviously I still feel like it needs more stuff at the end game because there's not that much to do right now. There's like mostly just Duriel, and Lilith doesn't drop anything. I wish Lilith would get reworked actually to just be farmable. Like Mephisto and D2 was a really good addition to any RPG. But yeah, like it would be really good. You could choose between red Helltide, green Helltide, nightmare dungeons, or just XP spamming like dopamine tunnels and stuff. Then you actually have some good choice. I think that'd be really good. And then world bosses every now and again. And that's something I also really like. World bosses was super worth it. I did every single one.
Yep.
Did not miss one.
Well, when
I
it
got
comes
my
to
weapon that I'm still using at 100 from the first world boss I did in tier 4. It was a
there
good
you
day.
go.
Very good day.
Yeah, they dropped a super high level loot now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to kind of touch up on, because I know you guys are kind of information sponges. Maybe I missed it, but I know when they were talking about season 1, they're like, "Here's a season 1 mechanic, and after season 1, we're going to throw it in the garbage." Now, they did that, but to my understanding, they didn't say that with season 2. So are we expected that we have permanent vampire systems in the game forever now?
Here's something kind of interesting, is that whenever they did their last campfire, I actually asked it, and I asked a question in chat. I said, I'm never going to play Necromancer ever again unless you make autoplay Necromancer from Season 1 baseline. Basically, that was the question, and it was formed basically in a statement. And Joe Shelley, the game director, actually tweeted at me, and he said, I saw your question, stay tuned for what's going to happen at BlizzCon. So I think that we could see some degree of like overlap and like kind of implementation of these systems going into the base game, because I think that that's really where like Diablo like it has the potential to like fall off versus PoE, especially because PoE has built up like such a foundation over the years of just systems that just got better and better and better over time. And even systems that weren't really that good, like synthesis, for example, were still implemented into the game in more removed ways, like with Twisted Distant Memory and with like Cortex maps, and having still the implicits that you can put on the gear. Like you still have synthesis, but it's made in a way that makes sense for the current game. And I think that that's what Diablo needs to do, so the game doesn't just feel like the base game with a new flavor, and there's no sense of like the game never becomes more robust or more interesting. It's just a new version of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a huge problem that they had in Diablo 3 for the longest time, until like very recently when they actually started, like the last few seasons in Diablo 3, they actually started like adding a few like new systems, and they do a little bit here and there, and it's not just only rifts and that stuff. So they did a good job there, and I think it's pretty obvious in Diablo 4 that they need to go down the same route as PoE, with like implementing league mechanics or season mechanics as like a permanent thing. And they're doing that a little bit already, right? Varshan is still here. Volzir is like is a permanent addition. So I wouldn't be surprised to actually see the vampire stuff in season 3 as well. But maybe it's going to be similar to how Helltide works now. Eventually it pops up somewhere. It's not always there because the new season mechanic is somewhere, for example. And it's just like some other side thing that you can do, and maybe get like a special reward there. Like maybe the vampire stuff is going to be very efficient to farm. I don't know, certain elixirs or certain types of gear or whatever, as like a side thing that you can do next to Helltide and next to dungeons and whatnot. And if they keep going forward like that, I think this is a pretty good solution.
Yeah.
I feel like just leaving the boss in doesn't really do it for me. Like leaving Varshan in and taking out literally everything else, that doesn't do it for me.
I agree. I think
like
okay,
and I can just sit in all his mechanics and not care. Like it's
Yeah, it's hard though with like things like
does.
vampire powers. I didn't play season 1, but I think there was quite a lot of powers with Malignant Hearts and stuff there too. So keeping something like that every season in a game that's already struggling with power creep could be pretty dangerous too.
Yeah, it's not so much about keeping the power creep, right? If they it's fine to remove the power creep and then maybe replace it with something else, or not even have any power creep. You can power creep in different ways if you want. It doesn't have to be temporary. But yeah, like, do you really want to keep Millennium Tunnels around in the game? Is the question. I mean, they kept the boss at least, so
I like that they kept the boss, but what would be so much better? This would like double the league for me. Would be if killing Lord Zir and the Beast in Ice, or whatever it's called, would give Andariel fragments. So I could be like spamming Zir, Blood and Beast in Ice, and farming both Duriel and Andariel. That would have been like, oh my god, yes. Like,
I would really like if we had something like an Abyss Jewel socket from PoE, and you could use one of the Malignant Hearts that is kind of one of the more balanced ones, instead of something else. I would like that a lot.
That would be cool for sure. Like they can bring back some of the powers. I also wouldn't be surprised to see like some of the powers come back, like the auto casting necro thing. Like that could be like a new unique item or something as well.
Sure.
Like not like a power creep thing where it's just like for free, but you have to like have like a trade-off basically, and then you bring back like a favorite item basically that most people like.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to set the framework too. Because I'm sure we've all been asked that. I'm sure we'll get to it. It's like, how much do you like season 2 Kripp? Is it good? Is it bad? Should I come back? All that kind of stuff. I always kind of at the back of my mind compare the experience to PoE leagues, and I know that's maybe not the same for everyone here. Maybe it is the same for everyone here, but maybe not. Just because that's like a good standard. And not just for me personally, but I think it is kind of like the ARPG industry standard, which is why they explicitly mentioned that it's going to be a live service game. I think their goal is to at least meet that standard. So, yeah, I think that perspective kind of puts it in, because for me, season 2 did actually deliver a lot on what I want out of a league in PoE. Like I think they hit the notes pretty well.
I think it was good. Yeah, I would say, like, what have I told people? I've told them, like, if you should watch the game, make a decision for yourself, right? Like, should you play the game or not? But like, if you've already bought the game and you own the game already, yeah, maybe try it out. You know, play it for a couple of hours, and if it sucks, then well, you wasted a couple of hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I was usually, when people were asking me, people were like, it's worth coming back now. And I was like, you'll get between like 50 to 100 hours out of Season 2. For most people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just one season, right? And then people ask, will I really get my money's worth out of this game or something? Like, always get this question, like, should I buy the game? And yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do wrong with ARPGs, I feel. You know, even if it's not in the perfect state right now and you're like a super try-hard blaster, you know, even then you're gonna enjoy the game for a while, most likely. And the casuals, I mean, generally enjoy it anyway, I suppose. Like, most of them, at least. So,
Well, that's really the thing, right? Is like the game's made for casual players.
yeah, exactly. So
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
of people, it's like that's also what a lot of people say, right? That this is really good for casuals, and you know, like I think most people just like it, even if they just never get to level 100 or something.
You say there's not a lot they could do wrong in the ARPG space, but I don't think people would exactly have that sentiment about Season 1.
Well, it's more about like...
True.
I think games in general have incredible entertainment value. So it's like, I hate getting asked that question. Because like, people go to the cinema, right? It's like insanely bad entertainment value.
What?
People go out to drink.
Yeah.
Spend $100 in one day, just buying the same stuff that's at the store for $20. What are they thinking?
Games are so like good value. I feel like I have a very like high value threshold on my games. I want like at least 1 hour out of every dollar I spent. Somebody in my chat said they want if 1 hour every $3 they spend. And I'm like, dude, if I spend $60 on a game and I get 20 hours, I'm pissed.
I hate this discussion. I mean, go to the park, okay? Like,
I think that it really depends, right? Because there's some people they can spend $70. It's not a big deal. You know, they have a good job. You know, they live in a good place. They're in a first world country. Everything is good for them. And there's other people that have to save up money to buy $70, right? By spending $70. So it's just that like you can't really tell somebody, is this worth it for you? Because they're going into it from their own perspective, like completely from their own perspective. Everybody's, you know, everybody's value proposition is going to be different.
Yeah. No, I mean there were a lot of really good changes. I'm very happy with like at least it's going in a good direction, even though like I would want more days out of it. I was hoping to get like a week, but I'm already pretty done. Like my main goal was to get an Uber unique, which I already got.
Yeah.
Which one did you get?
I got the Andariel helmet.
Ooh.
I'm gonna use it. Are you gonna make a build around it?
No, I'm like...
See, that's the problem, because like I basically did exactly what you did, Ziz. I went and did Uber bosses, but then the items that I got off the Uber bosses really encouraged me to make another character, so I did. And then, honestly, added up together, yeah, I got about a week out of the league, but yeah, two characters worth. But a week out of the league, that's what I expect from a league.
It's not bad. It's not bad. For me, so I just... Andariel's Visage wasn't that exciting for me, and I don't feel like... I think items need a little bit more excitement in D4. I was really excited when they were like, oh, we reworked unique items to make them more exciting. And the first thing they show, all that changed was damage. And I was like, they get it. They know what we want. And then I saw the item and I was like, they don't get it. Because it was just a damage increase, right? It was like the gloves, like the basically face breakers. And I was like, oh, that's not it at all. And then they showed the druid amulet. And I was like, do more of this. This is what I want. This is exactly this amazing. Like, give me like additional projectiles. Give me ricochet. Give me some sort of weird effect. That's my favorite thing. That's all I want more of.
But I think they've done actually a really good job. Exactly what you described, though. Like, look at these new uniques that drop from Duriel. Like exactly what Kripp just described of the Xephal's ring. That it's like basically build enabler with like those explosions from your dots, and you have like like the gold sack crown and. Yeah, there's like a flicker step, exactly. When I'm using that on the Rain of Arrows, man, it's so much fun, and it really transforms your build.
I think most of these are mostly damage increases, though. There's not that many that like change the behavior. They're like a different way to add damage. Like even Axe Falls is just a different way to add damage to your build.
I think
I prefer more like core behaviors.
The most interesting items for me are the ones with like pretty brutal downsides. I don't like downside as opportunity cost because that just makes the item feel garbage. It's like, hey, this temerity effect is good, but they have bad stats, so I'm not going to use it.
Like all Sork uniques?
Yeah. I want an item that has a ridiculous stat, and then a stat that completely screws you over. And then your goal is to overcome the challenge to unlock the power. Like that's
You must have
how
loved Scourge.
in a way.
I think you're gonna see more like what Kripp describes in the future as well. That's
I
probably.
hope so. I mean, it's going in the right direction, but
You know, they are trying to add ways to like make gearing more interesting. You know, like you scale your character with different stats now and whatnot. And I think you're gonna go that route as well.
I would definitely like 5 stats. I feel like the 725, this is like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's like an 820-ish breakpoint for like health scaling, because like I've upgraded pieces of gear and like there are certain things, the only thing that I think scales completely all the way up to 925 is armor, like the actual armor on the piece of gear, because even the health value scaling does stop somewhere around the mid 850s, somewhere around there. Yeah. So I feel like you get your gear and you are getting higher item level versions, and I really like how it goes up to 925, but I would love if there was a way to get gear with like maybe 5 stats on it, or gear with something else on it whenever you unlock it at like level 900 or something, because I do feel like the gear grind is missing that last 10% or that last 20% to it.
Yeah, I think what we really need is something like corruption also in PoE. I think that would be perfect, because you have like so many kind of like decent, good items lying around in your stash. You have like 10 copies of different pants, 10 copies of different helms, and they're all good. And I'm just like, you know, okay, I mean, I need that one, and the rest I'm just going to keep for whenever I want to swap my resist or something. But, you know, if you had something like a chance to gamble on your items, that would be superb, I believe, with like the flood of loot that you're getting in D4.
The 5th step being corruption only would be very, very cool, and like especially on like uniques and stuff. Like a guy in our guild found 2 Andariel's Visage. Like him actually like corrupting one would be pretty sick, right?
Yeah.
So I think proof,
I know, yeah. So and because they're not tradable, right? I wish there was more of an economy in D4, but I really like what they did with resistances. I thought I would hate it, because from the way they talked about it at the fireside chat and the way they talked about the all rest on the amulet, and I don't know if they said it and it was only in the patch notes, but I at least didn't catch it in the fireside video, that there was going to be a resistance drop between like world tier 2, 3, 4. So I was like, are we just gonna rest cap from like from putting diamonds in my gear and the amulet?
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna be that simple? But it actually added quite a lot, and I really like the resist swap. I think that was a good step in the right direction. However, I kind of hate the like vuln crit change in a way. It is still better, and it enables more builds, but I'm not excited for any like damage stat now. Like, they're all the same, right? It doesn't matter if it's close damage, healthy enemies, vuln, crit, they're all the same. So I still think it's good. Like, it was better than before. So it's moving in the right direction, but it's very homogenized, the damage on gear.
So
it's basically, it might as well say damage.
There are some differences.
Damage
actually.
on Tuesdays.
There are some differences. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but like one of the Paragon legendary notables for Sork is up to 30% of your increase to cold damage is added as multiplier to vuln damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's cool.
Right. So cold damage, sure, but it's up to 30. So 300% cold. It's not that hard to get if you're cold, but actually it's kind of hard to get if you're fire. But here's the thing: there are multipliers. Like if I get cold damage multiplier, it actually multiplies the stat. So I'm actually using that thing that changes between damage types. So when it's fire, it's 30, but then when it's cold, it's like 10.
Oh, the new legendary.
Yes. And that's just because of how much cold damage I have. So actually, there are these subtle differences, but they definitely need more of them. It's not totally homogenized. It's just I just wanted to point out, because I'm sure you're going to get nitpicky people talking about it. It's not exactly completely homogenized.
Yeah.
Yet.
I just wanted to be a little bit more exciting. Like, I don't want like attack and defense.
Yeah.
And I really like the resist changes. So.
I mean, I've enjoyed. I think the resist changes are nice. I feel like having maximum resists. I think that they basically just took the system from PoE and pretty much just put it in Diablo, which is like, I'm kind of okay with that. I don't think that's like a horrible thing, but yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, decent enough.
Yeah.
They weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah. I mean,
expected
I
to
would
be
even say
pretty good.
you don't even need to credit PoE with it, right? You could credit D2 with it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I
This
never
is
really
from
played a lot of
D2.
D2, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I actually thought
Um,
it would be like perfect, but actually I'm kind of the other way. I expected greatness, but was a little disappointed.
Oh,
Like
how so?
I have 0 fire resist on my Sork, and I have like 40 fire resist overcap right now. It's like just
Yeah,
from
this is just
passives.
the Sork
Oh,
things, I
because you
guess.
get everything from int.
It's not-
I'll have you guys know that the only reason I rolled a Sork this league is I assumed that Blizzard would not balance the fact that intellect scales resistances. And it would just be super easy to play Sork or Necromancer.
Right.
And it seems like I've been right.
So,
Yeah, so
it's
good choice.
a little bit more than that. So you kind of reach about 70 just having a fully geared out character, but then
Yeah.
the damage type that you pick always puts you over. So I'm fire, so I go to the fire boards, and the fire boards have incidental fire resistance.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
Damn.
but I guess it's just like a perk of playing a Sork in that case, right? It's just like
Yeah.
you play a Sork and you have easy access to auras, and I mean, why not, right? I think that's fine. It's just like one advantage of playing a Sork.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't have that as a rogue. Still
I
team rogue now.
enjoyed. Yeah, I guess a rogue as well. It's like, okay, you get like 4 resist rolls or so on your gear, and then the rest you fix from your gems. And yeah, I kind of like that little mini game with the resist. It makes me like think a lot more about which items I'm gonna use to upgrade, and I kind of like hold off on upgrades a lot more than before, because it's kind of like this typical, okay, you replace like 4 things at once kind of story. But
Yeah.
it's also like, you do everything in one go. It's not like, okay, you find this one upgrade, now you go back, you roll it, you go to your cultist, you upgrade it, whatever, right? It's just like, okay, I collect a few items, I see what I got, and then I just like, swap it around until it matches. And worst case, you pick up a few more nodes on paragons and fix your last rest, and that's it. And then you can still pop an elixir.
The only thing that really tilted me there was ring implicits. Like, someone had found a really good ring, and I'm like, the implicit actually like undercaps me to like 60 poison or whatever. I'd be like very annoyed at that, but still doesn't annoy me as much as boot implicits. I don't know. Like, I feel like, especially this season with
just
the
'cause it's bugged a little,
metamorphosis.
The metamorphosis, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like doing anything but +3 of 8 is like super inting. So I would find like really perfect boots, but it was like can't remember what the other implicit is. Not
Movement
the
speed.
increased Oh, there's another one
The
too.
other one. Your attacks
Attacks
reduce.
reduce.
I actually
Yeah,
like that
I was
one.
like,
I like that one.
I hate that.
But the
I hate
movement
it.
speed
I'm
one
using the movement
doesn't
speed
work.
one. I think it's great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the movement speed one I thought you were talking about, because you don't evade when you use metamorph. It's not exactly
Oh.
evade. So you get no movement speed bonus from it. So like with this season, with everyone using metamorph, obviously, I mean I doubt they're surprised. Like, wait, everyone likes to massively improve and deal massive damage with their evade. Of course they did, right? So
Oh, that's interesting, because I'm not running that.
Yeah, I'm not
really?
oh,
Why not?
I used it for the flicker step build, but outside of flicker step, I have like no use for evading that much. So I just run at capped movement speed anyway. Who cares?
But
So,
it's permanent unstoppable.
yeah, unstoppable.
yeah, who cares, man? Nothing CCs you. This is 2023, man.
Oh,
Just
It's
kill 'em
also
before
really
they
good
do
with
it.
like, is it temerity or whatever the pants are called? The like 40 multi pants.
it sounds like
well,
it
there's-
sounds like they fixed so many problems with Wudijo. You just have to create some of your own to play the game you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, they nerfed CCs so much. There's like not that much going on, honestly, anymore.
That's
I
fair.
feel like they nerfed like the monster, like the snakes are nerfed, and like all of the elite affixes are nerfed. Like unstoppable is extremely optional these days, even on hardcore, I would say.
Well, it's still that modifier that's that Tybalt's Will or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck from Duriel.
Yeah.
I got a 40% roll on that. Oh
Yeah,
my
same.
god,
It's
that
so
thing
good.
is very good.
It's very good.
Yeah. Did you actually notice something of that? I feel like this thing might give too much damage or something. Like I'm not sure what's going on with this. I
40
like,
more
whipping
is
it
a
up.
lot.
No. It's just like it feels more like times 5 or something. Like they added a 0 too much or so.
Nah.
Well, I think
I'm
it's a
not sure.
multiplicative.
Yeah, but even so, it's like I tried like literally the same boss fight with and without
Yeah.
the pants, and I was like noticing like I was two-shotting the boss from like, and
Rogue
the other
problems.
time it was like 10 shots or something. So I don't know what's going on with that.
I think that's pretty accurate though, no? Like it's the same
No,
in
it's-
like PoE. If you get a 40% multiplier on an already good build, you're gonna like one shot.
Do we even math?
I mean, it's
Well, I
because it's
think
a 40
no,
multiplier in the other multipliers. Like it's pretty
Well,
strong.
no, this is what happens, right? Is that you're using a 40% multiplier on top of a 20% damage, on top of a 10% damage, on top of a 50% damage, on top of a plus 3 skill levels. And so, like, the WoW had this problem in Legion where, like, whenever you had all your cooldowns up, you were doing absolute god mode damage. And then outside of it, you weren't doing any damage. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's how the numbers can get crazy. Like, I don't know if that's what's happening in this situation. Like, I never did the testing like Wudijo did. But, like, for me, I feel like, yeah, the pants are really good.
Yeah, and in addition to that, after seeing the Rax video, the Blizzard math is a little questionable. So you might be
It's
right.
like
Maybe it is
1040.
bugged.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, I went to test this actually on a bear. Like, I just went to Art of Kyowa Shard and I started stopping a bear, and the numbers seemed fine. But then I tested it in a dungeon again. I'm not sure. Maybe there's some weird double dipping. I feel like with those pens.
There could be
I couldn't
double
figure it out because when I did the testing, on its own, everything was fine. So I'm not sure. Maybe everything is fine and I'm tripping. But
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They added a stash space as well. I don't know about you guys, but that was I was gonna say earlier that was the number one thing putting me off making a new alt. Because like I've pretty much just kept like good uniques I care about, aspects, and a few good items. My stash is full already from one character. So I'm like,
Oh, mine
I
is
don't
too.
really want to start over and like have to delete a lot of stuff.
That is a
I
very
think that they
annoying
should
part.
probably make the stashes. Yeah, they should have like a. It would be nice if you had something like 2 stashes and there was like a 1-tab stash that was a universal stash, and then all the other stashes were character specific. That would be an ideal situation in my mind.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
like
you
how
could-
Diablo 2 works, right? Diablo 2 has
Mhm.
like exactly that, like personal and shared stashes or so. I mean, that's
Mhm.
would be a good system as well. But I think
Ugh.
more importantly, they just need to like find a solution to the legendary aspects hoarding, right? I think that's like the biggest like space,
Yeah.
the biggest thing that picks up all of the space
How
in your
do you-
stash.
How do you guys feel about the suggestion that a lot of people have brought up that the legendary aspects that you find should upgrade the baseline of your codex? Like you apply them to your codex.
That's what Rax said, right?
As a permanent thing?
I'm not sure. Yeah, as a permanent thing. Well, I mean, for that season.
Right.
Yeah, I discussed exactly that idea as well with other people, and I think that's not a bad idea. Like, just like allow everything to go directly to the occultist, and you just like go from there then, because like eventually you're gonna have like 5 copies of every single thing you want anyway, but you need to store it somewhere, and it just like clutters everything, right? And then you want to try out this one new thing, you have like an idea with like your build, you want to swap it, and then oh man, I didn't save that 1 power. Now I have to go grind 5 hours until it drops.
Right.
That also feels terrible. So, like you remember, oh man, I salvaged this 20 times. Like, it just feels bad. So
Yeah, I kind of like it. I think it's good as a casual feature. As a non-casual, it sounds a little bit too easy to me. So, like, maybe a middle solution would be that it increases the average. So let's say you have like, you put in a 20%, or sorry, the baseline for Age Master is what, like 20? And then you find a perfect one at 40. It increases the average, right? So now your Edge Master's
It's like a
30.
+5
You put in
every
another
time or something.
40, now it's 35. So maybe you can't get perfect ones, or you have to grind out a bit to get perfect ones. That way, like, drops are still interesting, because I think that's quite cool that you do need to find a good role, and you get excited for a good role, and I think it's important for ARPGs to have exciting moments. So just
Yeah.
finding one perfect one at the start of the season, now you don't need another, or don't need to care about one for the rest of the season. That sounds a little bit bad to me, but very casual friendly, which is what D4 goes for. So I'm not like super opposed to it, but I do hate the idea of instantly removing it.
yeah,
it
okay.
would be nice. Yeah. Go ahead.
Woody, go ahead.
Asmon. Okay. No, I was just going to say that, it doesn't have to be like you find one perfect one and that's it for the rest of the season. It could be like an incremental increase or something, right, as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like you have to find like 50 times to get actually the perfect from the codex, right? Maybe it starts easy, like, okay, you get 1, you upgrade it plus 1%, you get 2, you upgrade it another 1%, and you get 5, you upgrade another 1% or something
Yeah,
from the codex.
exactly.
Disenchanting it gives you experience towards leveling it up or some form of that, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, they
Yeah.
even like experience bars in this game, right? There's the glyphs, there's vampire powers, there's the pentagon. Like,
And also with stash tabs, we should just be able to like that should be a gold sink, right? They should just keep going. Like it should be 500,000, then a million, then eventually like maybe you want a lot. It's eventually like 10 million.
Yeah.
Like we should just be able to continuously upgrade our stash tabs. It's crazy that we can't. Absolutely crazy. 2023, the technology exists in every other RPG. It's crazy.
I have 7 mules for only 1 class right now.
Oh my god.
That's kind of where I wanted to jump in this discussion. It's like we're talking about small changes to their stash inventory system. They need like big changes in their stash and inventory system. Like I mostly agree with Ziz what he said in regards to the fact that it kind of feels good, but to find something. But I also like the meaningful decision making. Like if I find something that's quite rare on a perfect roll, I like the idea of, the strategy of hoping to find a certain level of power in an item before I apply it to something. Really, the problem with the aspects is just part of the pretty awful inventory management. Like if you had a PoE stash tab style thing where it's like you just dump unlimited aspects and they just go there
this wouldn't be a
automatically when you
conversation.
salvage a legendary, then what's the problem, right?
Absolutely. And I think a filter is also like the stash and filter are some of the baseline changes that I'm like, why? Why don't we have a filter? Like even a button to like click hide blue gear. And like when I initially saw that the game had no filter, I actually thought that you needed to salvage white and blue gear because there were some materials that you only got from white and blue gear because I couldn't fathom why else we would on endgame characters be forced to see white and blue gear. Like that, it's crazy to me.
Well, I mean, technically, they still give you the same materials, just not very crystals, right? I think you can even get Forgotten Souls, I'm not sure.
It's very
Yeah.
rare salvage chance for getting a Forgotten Crystal from, I think, a Legendary or something. I feel like the Forgotten Crystals are too hard to get. Like, they're forcing people to do helltides too much. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but, like, I really have to repeat myself. So fucking annoying. I don't know if other people feel the same way, but, like, for me, I always felt like helltide was like, okay, now I have to do my chores.
Right. I liked Helltide, so I didn't feel like that. I was just doing them every time.
Yeah,
my
also like a
Helltides,
big
Ziz?
Helltide enjoyer.
I just follow you around on my mount and you just kill the mobs for me,
Yeah.
okay?
I think Druid was the best to follow around because I think the Hemomancy procced from the Vine Creeper, so Druid could just run around with Hemo just auto-procking or something.
Really?
You don't have to
Pretty
hit
great.
them.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Is
hit
that
them.
the
work of all
You don't have
minion?
to hit them. In Helltide, you just have to be like on the same like 2-screen
In the
area.
vicinity. Yeah.
And it's the drops are shared globally, which is an awesome feature, by the way. I wish we had that in Legion. In Legion, I
Right.
think you
That would be
actually have to
great.
hit a mob to get partial experience.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the group play in the game, I feel like it's very there's like very serendipitous group play where like you feel good whenever there are other people around you. Whereas like I know in WoW, especially back in the day, the group play there was always like friction and like annoyance to it.
Yeah, group play is very strong. Like incredibly
is.
strong. It almost to the point where it feels like I did one Duriel for my like video about my build, and I felt like such a waste. Like I am
Yeah.
fucking 3 other people out of a chance for Uber here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it wasn't like like this crazy like loot share with Duriel, I think that would probably be a bit better. I mean, on one hand, it's kind of nice that it's like some social activity and you can do it together, and then feels good that you have multiple chances if everyone does like a rotation or something. But on the other hand, I feel like it's like too forced. I clearly agree with this there. Like I want to go in, for example, when I make a build, I'm like, okay, I want to do like. This is what I do in PoE. Like I do like one round of all the Uber bosses with a build and do like a Simulacrum, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And exactly like this in D4 as well. Like I want to do like one round of T100s, I want to do one round of Lilith, etc. And then of course a Duriel. But every time I make a build, I want to do a Duriel, I will feel so terrible, grinding up for like an entire hour for like one Duriel or whatever, or 2 hours.
I
who knows?
mean that's a problem with shared loot, right? Maybe Duriel shouldn't have shared loot. Duriel should just drop loot. anyone that's there can pick it up. So you're more incentivized to do it solo. Maybe there's slightly better drops in a group.
I mean, it could just
but
be
it's
like
also-
a lower chance. You know, for people leeching, it would
Yeah.
just be like they have like a 25% chance for a drop, let's say, or
Right.
whatever.
So the host has the 2% chance, and everybody else is like 0.5 or something. That makes sense. I think it's interesting that D4 is such a heavy focus on group play when ARPG is probably the group of gamers with like the least friends. Like it's like predominantly like solo players.
Are you sure
Yeah,
about this?
I mean, I would kind of agree
Probably.
with that. I am an enjoyer of the the Duriel getting a group together and like people that are like gonna come together and like kill a boss to get the items. I think it's kind of a nice thing overall.
It is.
I can see how like, and this is always like, I think this is going to be an ongoing issue that Diablo is going to run into, is because Diablo is made for an audience. Like, is Diablo made for any of us?
No.
No.
I like it.
Okay, so then this is the problem. Yeah. So I don't know exactly how you can fix that. How you can make a game that is effectively made for an audience of people that are very casual, because I think that for casual players, the Duriel sharing is actually quite good. Because then they just get more gear, right? And it encourages them to play together and like, you know, make a group. But what I do think the game definitely needs, especially now with the Duriel thing, is they need a group finder. How is there not a group finder?
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree with Asmon. Like from my personal perspective, I would really
Yeah.
like for solo players to have more viability and to, you know, not feel bad trying to do a solo Duriel, for example, right? It just feels bad doing it solo.
Yeah.
But I also agree that I guess most people probably wouldn't care too much, just trying to, like, you know, they're happy when they have like this 1 or 2 Duriel attempts in their inventory, and then they're gonna, you know, spend some time looking for some people, and then they group up and they have like, you know, 10 runs. Yeah, but you can't really do that outside of like Discord communities and whatnot, right? So everyone is complaining about this, and
should
I
be
wouldn't
in
really be
game.
surprised to see like a group finder for this stuff very soon. Actually, like
Doesn't
even like
Diablo
something
2
like
have a
the
group
WoW.
finder?
What?
Doesn't Diablo 2 have a group finder?
No.
I'm not sure about
No.
Diablo 2. Diablo 3 has like public games, but this is
Oh,
like
it
a
doesn't.
really trash feature.
Ooh, okay, never mind then.
You just get groups of like random people of like, you know, random power levels basically, and it's like full of leechers and bots and whatnot,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware. But for example, the WoW system, right, with the group finder, where you can just like have a board and like, you know, you make your listing and you invite people and you apply. I mean, that would probably be a pretty good
'cause
solution.
it's such a pain right now. Like even if I want to like ask my chat, like, hey, does anyone else have a Duriel? I have one Duriel. Let me do rotations. I have to add them to Battle.net to like invite them. Like that's annoying. It would be nice if they could just message me.
Yeah, that is also not a problem for sure.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to step in here, and it's like, do we really want them to keep making bosses that you just easily beat in a group finder? I mean, I don't care so much about the group finder feature. If like it just feels like a chore almost if that's gonna be the thing. I don't know. I think they really just have to implement SSF because they can't backtrack
Yeah.
the group benefits that they've already put on the game. People that play with their friends, they're going to be really pissed off if they're like, oh, by the way, everyone needs Duriel Master Duriel. People are like, what the hell? So the only way to actually make that work is, yeah, you do SSF mode, and I think they should just leave the group benefits as they are. Let people play in a group if they want. I'm fine with that.
I
Some
think
people
you're
really
totally
like that
right.
experience.
Sure. But
I
at least
disagree
like,
with
letting
this,
people
actually.
invite easier would be nice.
I mean, you could like remove group benefits or like lower them at least, and you can buff the base drop rates, for example. So I don't think this is a really good argument. You can just, you know, make the drop rate for Uber unique like 5% instead of 2%, but you know, it's like more solo viable.
I think it's like
So-
two different arguments, right? Because like I feel like everybody here is in agreement that having a solo self-found option would be good,
Yeah.
right? Like this would just
Absolutely.
be a good thing. Like not that like you would have to play with it, but just if it was available, I think it would be good. And I think also
yeah.
like if you nerfed it and you made it to where people weren't able to get as much gear effectively from playing with their friends, then yeah, that would kind of suck. If they buff the base chance, like if you only got a lower chance whenever it wasn't your summon, and whenever it was your summon, you got a higher chance, I would kind of be okay with that. But I feel like that also could be too much over design. And I'm just not sure really like how much of a problem is this for the average Diablo gamer, the guy that plays Diablo 4 on a sofa on his console. Is this an issue for him? And I don't know yet.
I think almost nothing is though. Like the most casual gamer, they don't engage with Reddit. They don't watch videos. They just like they log in, they boot up their PlayStation one day, and they're like, oh, there's an update. Oh, there's a new thing out, and then they play. Right? They don't like integrate that much with the other stuff. So like none of these are issues for those, and the game is already a great game for those people.
So I see. Yeah. There's a lot of people. It's crazy to see how many people, like, the Elon Musk was streaming Diablo, the Nightmare Dungeon, right? That was pretty crazy to see. And so, I mean, I think that there is, like, that kind of is like and I hate this term, but I feel like with Diablo, it's kind of true. It's like the silent majority, of those people.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things we're complaining about is, like, very, like, for like no lifers and stuff, but also like the most of the people that watch us aren't casual players. Like obviously there are casual players in the chat, but most people probably play like like a lot of no lifers.
I think that's always going to be the challenge, right? How to make no lifers and people that want to play the game, that want to have a season last a month and like play it every day and have that last for like a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks at least. How to make those people happy while at the same time making the casual players that play with their wife on the weekend happy. That's the real challenge.
Do you know, I wonder if we'll ever get a map overlay. That's the thing I want the most.
You need a map overlay?
Yes, absolutely.
As it is. So.
Oh my god.
I'm okay with it the way it is.
I hate it.
Like if they had a map overlay, well, like
how much?
I see why they don't want to have one, right? I do understand it. But at the same time, like, I think that, if it becomes annoying or whatever, like, if the dungeons are optimized in a good way, like, a best case scenario in my mind is very well optimized dungeons that you don't need a map overlay to traverse.
But why not give me the option? Like, you don't have to use it.
I think that if you give people the option, everybody is going to play with the map overlay on all the time. Because whenever I watch a lot of PoE streams, that's kind of what they're like. And I think that you're right. If the game is still kind of shitty and it doesn't feel good to play, then it doesn't really matter, because at least playing with the map overlay on means that you're enjoying the game and like you're actually doing something rather than just being annoyed.
I feel like I'm getting punished for other people having poor self-control.
I don't think it has to do anything with self-control. I completely agree with Asmongold here.
That's just what they do. They have a guy whose job at Blizzard is to trigger you. He's doing a good job too. He should probably get a raise.
Well, like, I mean, what you're saying is right. Like, everything you're saying makes sense, right? Everything you're saying, like, you're kind of right. Like, why should you be punished? But it's like, at what point does the developer stop the player from diminishing their own experience? And I can at least respect Blizzard's attempt to try to do that, even though, yes, maybe it could be annoying.
Yeah, I agree with this. Like, the thing is, they want to focus more on the actual combat, the actual like layout of the dungeon and the monsters, and they do a pretty good job at that. There are dangerous monsters, there are dangerous elites, etc. It's not just you look at your dot running around on the overlay and you watch everything explode in the background, like in PoE, right? Like there are definitely like these tactical approaches to certain fights and these kind of things that is just very different from PoE combat, in my opinion. And I think having the map overlay would kind of like take away from that and would like much more push us towards this like blaster mentality, basically.
Yeah.
And even being a blaster myself, I actually like the way it is right now, personally, because it's just like much better focused on the combat.
Well, but I still love the combat. But like the problem for me, the flip side is now I'm spamming my map when going anywhere, because like the autopilot thing most of the time doesn't work, or a lot of the time doesn't work.
What?
Like there's like so many zones where like, and inside dungeons as well, it doesn't work. The autopilot thing, like the waypoint. No waypoint.
Like where you click on it and then you follow the line?
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't work inside dungeons, and it doesn't work in a lot of like zones. In a lot of the helltides zones.
They should make that work inside dungeons. That's a good idea. Yeah, they should do that. I don't know why they don't.
So I'm spamming M, and I'm opening and closing my map. Because I like seeing where I am all the time.
So here's a strat, they're going to enable it for dungeons, and then it's just like, you try to memorize the dungeon layouts and just right-click on where the boss is, and then it will tell you exactly the shortest path to the boss.
Well, I mean, if somebody wants to metagame that hard, I feel like let them. Like if they really care that much about it, just let them fucking do it. It's not that big of a deal in my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they're starting to tackle problems pretty well, I would say, and that's
Yeah.
just not that high up on their list. And I don't
Yes, I'm in the
disagree
minority
that
on this
much with
one.
that, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
do you guys think the game, like, obviously Duriel got added, Grigor got added, the Beast in Ice, Lord Zir got added. Do y'all think the game is too easy? Do you think the
I
bosses are too
wanted
easy?
to bring that up earlier. I wish there was an easy and hard version of those bosses. Like the current bosses, like the non-Duriel, non-Lilith bosses, they all feel like World Tier 3 bosses.
They do.
Because even Duriel could do with being a little bit harder. I actually think all of these fights that you mentioned, I think all the fights in the game are actually excellent fights. They're really cool. I really like each and every one of them. But the numbers, both on damage and defense on the bosses, seem really off. I think it's really hard to balance Diablo 4 because there's such a big disparity between builds. Like, look at just the difference between some of the top builds, right? If you look at the difference between my build, a Sork build, and the Barb build, these are all insane builds. But like, I'm hitting for like 30 million damage. The Barbarian hitting for 500 or whatever.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of hard to balance. But we did on hardcore, we did Duriel at level 70, and that was a pretty cool fight. Like it was pretty hard. We actually, the other people in my party procced and had to leave. I stayed in, and then realized they had left, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll leave too.
Jeez.
But
waste.
yeah, it was a really really cool fight at 70, and the
Just
other
don't have enough
fights
health.
though, yeah, the other fights were incredibly easy at 70. And I wish
Yeah.
there were a harder version because they're really cool fights. Like Varshan, I actually really enjoy fighting with like the dodging the stuff on the ground. So
I think they could do like the similar thing like in PoE where you have like the option to switch on an Uber mode of all of these fights, and they're all like level 150, and they're actually like crazy, and maybe give them like slightly better rewards, but not to the point where you feel like it's mandatory to try to beat them on the hard mode. And I think PoE does that really well, right? You can still
it's just a
farm
higher
the
chance.
bosses. Exactly, you have like a bit better loot or something, and like you don't get the elevated sexton or something from Maven or whatever, but these kind of things, it's not like such a big deal, and it would be really cool to have, because I agree that bosses are pretty well designed, but you don't really see any of them if you play a good build, right? You just go in and you blast them down, and blast one-shot them, everyone else gets them in 5 seconds or 10 seconds. I mean, not a big difference, really.
So,
and I think they have done such a big rebalance this patch that I think they were just like trying to go more on the easier side, just like making sure that no one feels like, crushed by the new balance or something so much.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised for them to like, go back on some of these, on like the player power next time. They're going to make the
I
new
think
season
season
theme.
3. Yeah. I think
So-
season 3 is going to be much more of a challenge league than this one is. I think this one is like setting the groundwork for them to make the first challenge league with leaderboards. That's what I think is going to happen.
I hope so. That'd be nice. I do want to quickly butt in on the PoE comment. Like the PoE way could be a lot better too, because it's quite punching. A lot of people feel like if you're not doing an Uber, you're wasting it, because you do have the Uber drops in PoE. I think the best way, in my opinion, of differentiating, which PoE, in my opinion, should do as well, is that the Uber version and normal version should both have really, really separate drops, so that it's like they should both have valuable and really good drops, right? So that if you're doing the Uber version, well, you're not getting the normal version stuff, and maybe you need something from the normal version. So I'm a big fan of like separate loot tables there. Then you have like a clear reason to do the different ones. And
So that way you don't feel like you're wasting it. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
yeah,
I think
because
that's a good point.
especially in softcore, like in hardcore and PoE, it's not a problem, right? Because, well, I can't do the Uber versions, I'll die. And it's still
Right.
quite valuable to farm the normal ones. Whereas on softcore, I know so many softcore people on PoE feels like they're wasting an invitation by not doing the Uber.
I
Yeah,
kinda
that's kind of the way
Maven.
that I felt
Before we
with,
get too-
yeah, I would sell all my invitations.
Before we get too off track, I kind of just want to mention, I think we actually talked about this in the previous one, but I think the issues they experience in Diablo is because, the numbers aren't finely tuned, but also, more importantly, they don't have a constraint on defense, which is interesting. Like, you can get 2 rolls on one piece, 2 rolls that will double the EHP of your character. Okay, like, an item like that in PoE doesn't exist. Maybe Aegis Aurora if you're already built into it. Maybe, right? That's what we're talking about. So they're double downing on putting a constraint on damage, which, again, I can't tell them is wrong. It's interesting, right? It's interesting. I can't tell them it's wrong. But then those numbers aren't finely tuned either. Yeah, we have barbs that are literally killing the healthiest boss in one hit in a 4-player group. So they're kind of letting balance seep through the cracks on both ends, which is really a problem. And I don't know, maybe that leads into itemization a little bit in the discussion, because that is pretty questionable. Like, again, in PoE, there's almost no item that half of it would essentially give you the survivability benefits that an item in D4 gives you. Like, you can get a chest with 4 survivability stats. Hell, you can get an amulet with 4 survivability stats in Diablo 4.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's also like very strange, but I think that's also why so many people have so many issues actually surviving in higher tier content as well in Diablo 4, because they kind of like neglect these defensive stats, and then they come to my stream, they're asking like, "Hey, what can I do? I'm dying all the time." And then you like explain, okay, first of all, are resist capped, and if yes, like, do I have any defense? And if the answer is no, they have no armor or something like that, you know, this get blasted, right? And if you have like these 2 or 3 rolls, suddenly you're like a tank. So I think like there's like a too much of a jump basically from like these kind of like details almost that you have on like a few item pieces. It's pretty extreme in Diablo 4, and I actually not sure if I really like that too much.
So you think that there should be, like, theoretically, right? There could be 2 offensive and 2 defensive stats on each piece of gear?
It doesn't have to be like that.
I'm not really sure exactly how to make that work, because you're kind of right. I mean, you can probably build a little bit too much into defense.
Yeah, it's maybe just like that the defensive affixes are just way too strong compared to the offensive affixes you can get in the same slot. Like if you look at the chest piece, you can roll damage on it, but the damage is completely irrelevant. You know, you can get like 2% damage, or you can have, you know, plus 25% EHP, right? So it's not the same. You know, not anywhere close in the same galaxy even. You know, you always go quadruple damage reduction on your chest. You know, there's no question about it. You would never roll like actively an offensive stat on your chest.
And they're additive stats, so they're not even the good multipliers.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trash. You know, there's never any chance that you would want this basically, unless you really want to just do like, you know, some open world speed farming setup. But then you have enough damage anyway, so who cares? So if you want to do any kind of like challenging content, you want the defense.
There's also the problem with legendary powers. Like most legendary powers are like 30% more damage generic, kind of. But then the survivability ones are also like 30%. Like how does that work when on the items it's so lopsided?
Yeah, this is the same story there, right? You can just kind of like replace 1 or 2 legendary defensive powers with 1 or 2 rolls on a gear, right? And it's just like, okay, now you can put, you know, utility ones on your helmet, your chest or something, and it's very strange.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to balance. It is sad because, like, I don't know if you've tried fighting the bosses like super under leveled, but when you're at a level that you're not like killing them and not like when their moves aren't dangerous, they're really fun. Like all of them are really fun. And well, like, okay, so I think they kind of mangled Uber Lilith this season. Like it was very, very disappointing to like one-shot her. And I really liked her in season 0. I'm kind of like beating myself up a little bit for not killing her while she's that dangerous. And I don't know about you guys, but I inherently actually love the Blizzard way of doing a boss and having it initially, like with Cthulhu, etc., where it's like almost unbeatable. It's either unbeatable literally, and people are just getting close, and maybe it needs to be nerfed, and then people can kill it, and then they're eventually making it easier and easier. I think the only reason I hate that with Lilith right now is because there is nothing else hard, right? So that like there's like a power vacuum now. There's nothing to grind your teeth on. It's a very hard fight. But I actually love that.
If they had like a little bit more challenging fights for sure. I didn't really like. I felt like the hitboxes and like some of the colors. Like I didn't like how, for example, you had to avoid like the red fireballs whenever the ground was falling apart. That was also the same color as the fireballs in phase 2. I thought that was just like really shitty.
Yeah.
But overall, like if the mechanics played the way that they should play, I think the fight would be fine.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I think what they should have done with Lilith is instead of nerfing her HP to like 10% of the previous value, they should have just like nerfed the damage of her abilities by half or something. So you can maybe tank a wave if you pop your cooldown, and you can tank a skull or two, and you can actually play the fight and not just, okay, like, right now, everyone that kills Lilith is just going in and ignores every single mechanic because you just one-shot her or nearly one-shot her, right?
Yeah,
And if that doesn't happen, then... Yeah, exactly. If that doesn't happen, then your build sucks, and you die, and you go again with a better build, right? Until you can just ignore the fight. And like, why do you rob everyone of the experience of actually playing the fight? By just like you could just nerf the damage a bit. Give people a bit of a chance to fight her and do a mistake or two and still keep going instead of just just removing everything basically.
Insta-gib and that's it. Like it's start over again. Like I remember I would have to like record the attempts and like I would go back to the VOD and look, oh, I got hit by this because I couldn't even really see it sometimes in phase 2. Yeah. And obviously I only put like probably less than 100 attempts into the boss. So it's not like I really put in major time to it. But it wasn't like a fun 100 attempts. I just wish that it was like a little bit more tightly tuned. And in terms of like, you compare Uber Lilith to Vicus or Voltan or one of the bosses in Lost Ark, and the Lost Ark bosses are just so much tighter, so much cleaner.
So
yeah, I think it's more like they need to add more like kind of like attrition to these boss fights. Maybe like you know, like you can make mistakes, but you can't make too many, right?
Yeah.
So this would already be in the way. And
it's very binary. Yeah.
Yeah, like right now it's just like you get one shot or you one shot her, and that's it. So
now I did really like it in Season 0. So the main reason I didn't kill in Season 0, I had her on like 30 to 50% in Phase 2. But then I went into the fight and I was like, okay, I got my cheat death in my inventory ready. Okay, cool. I didn't pop it. So I actually tried a legit attempt of Lilith, and yeah, she one-shot me. But it's kind of interesting because I don't know, I really want to get your guys' takes on this, because I kind of hate and love, or rather, I hate that there's both cheat death and scroll of escape on hardcore. Like Diablo 4 right now doesn't have hardcore, and I kind of wish cheat death was only for things like Lilith, because I think there it really makes sense and it allows to make like really crazy hard fights. Where it's basically almost like a rhythm game. If the hitboxes were accurate, it almost makes like a rhythm game, and I love that. But the fact that you, at least this season, I could probably have permanently ran a cheat death potion this season. Like I get so many materials for it. I have like 45, because I don't use them. Whereas Scroll of Escape, we have very little of. I've found 7 the entire season, and I'd rather cheat death just only work on Lilith, and then Scroll of Escape be like a normal thing.
I'm, like what you were saying at the beginning, right? Is like you're kind of a hardcore player, so you don't really know about softcore stuff. Like I'm kind of the same way with hardcore. Like in like just like my gut feeling, it does seem kind of cheesy that you're playing hardcore and you have like multiple get out of jail free cards. Like this seems a little bit weird. However, I don't really play it a lot, so I'm not really sure what they should do in terms of hardcore.
Yeah,
I think I've played only hardcore basically in this game. So from my perspective, I really like the lower scroll drop rate, and I think the scroll itself is like an excellent tool, especially with the low drop rate now. Like I found like, I don't know, total 15 or something at this point.
Yeah.
It's not like they're dropping and they're raining from the sky. I've been blasting like 12 hours every single day. So, they drop here and there, but you can't really spam them. So, and I really like this. I think the drop rate is pretty much in a good spot right now. So it gives you like this option to like, really get out of a fight, or, like something goes wrong or whatever. But yeah, I totally agree with the elixir. I think the elixir, this is something I've been saying since, pre-release, since pre-beta, like years ago at this point, like please no cheat deaths. And for some reason, they just made it easier and easier to get these elixirs now. You can literally run permanent from the start, and it's just like, why? The game is already very easy. And, the game doesn't have anything that is like, surprising, let's say, or like unfair or something like that for a hardcore player. What?
Disconnects.
You can disconnect.
Yeah, okay, yeah, disconnects. Yeah, for this we have
Yeah.
to scroll now. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, like from like a gameplay perspective, it's not like, you see these typical PoE rip clips, people die to like corpse explosion from a boss or something, and they die to like some ground effect from like that enemy or whatever, right? There's like tons of these things. And this doesn't exist at all in Diablo 4. Like if you die in Diablo 4, then this is entirely your own fault. And you don't need
the deaths are pretty
Elixir to
fair.
give you a cheat death. And you have to scroll on top of this. So even if something goes wrong, and you understand that you're like in a tough spot, you can still use a scroll, but you can't do that often. So I think with the low scroll drop rate and with how the game is balanced right now to be relatively easy, it would make perfect sense to just like not have the elixir at all, or at the very least have it like 100 times more rare. If I can pop like 1 elixir per 50 hours or whatever, I think that would be okay. That would be fine. I want to try a T100 dungeon. Okay, let's pop an elixir, just in case. But it's like it needs to be even more rare than a scroll, in my opinion. And then it'll be good.
So
either make it really rare or only work for Ubers.
Yeah,
the
for the
cheat
Uber
death
bosses, that'll be fine.
doesn't actually save you from dying on Lilith, I believe, right? Like if you fall off the platform, you die even with the cheat death elixir.
True. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of bizarre, also.
I like that. I think that's fun.
Whoever's gonna
I
die
don't
with
know.
the cheat death elixir is not gonna like that.
Right, that's fair. But I don't know. I feel like cheat death doesn't really make sense for D4 because the difficulty is like pretty low on the active gameplay. Like it's pretty hard. Sorry, Tom. One of my chatters died 2 times this thing. But I think it's quite difficult to like die while playing. Like the main thing people were dying to, we were seeing in season 0 was disconnects, which
Or desync or something stupid.
Scroll of Escape should have fixed that. I think somebody died while desync. Personally, I actually think Scroll of Escape should be a little bit more common, specifically because
Of DC.
I don't. It's your DC protection. I think it's important that you reasonably have one all the time, and you're not really using it that much. I feel. I think I only used it once in combat, and 4 times on misclicks. So I think it could be like slightly more common, and I think it is a really, really good way. But yeah,
I did play
cheat death is
hardcore
weird.
a bit last season and the pre-season, and I quite like the drop rate in general. It's just as Woody said, the more you play, the like you can't craft cheat death elixirs all the time until you're like 50 or 60, but then you can, and then you just have like way too much. Like there's no way you'd ever run out at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's so abundant.
You get so
and
many
for
from
example,
Nightmare Dungeons.
how it was in season 0, like on launch, these materials were like extremely rare. They just didn't drop, these monster parts that you needed for the elixir. And you had to, like, you could actually go and farm these, like, rare monsters, and you could, like, stack up some of those elixirs, but you had to, like, actively go and do that. And now it's just, like, they up the drop rate by, like, times 20 or something, and you just have hundreds. Like, I can literally log in and craft 100 elixirs right now, I can just let it run for the entire next week if I want, without playing. So
Yeah, it could be like maybe a drop only thing too, and a rare drop. Like right now, honestly, probably the thing I get most excited for was the Uber Unique, and then after that, Scroll of Escape. Every time I see a Scroll of Escape, I'm like, oh, another one!
yeah, it feels good, man. Yes, I'm totally with.
So like Elixir could be like that, maybe like half the drop rate or something, or a fourth even.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you find 1 elixir and you can't craft it, and it's like a 1 in 20 hours drop or something, why not, right? So I will be on board with that.
Yeah, and like it's very interesting because hardcore is technically easier than softcore in some ways.
How's that?
Because
You have the cheat death elixir on boss fights.
Yeah, if
It
you're
won't reset.
doing because it doesn't exist on softcore. So if you're doing Lilith, you get one shot, right? Even if you're pretty confident that you can finish the fight, that fight is over for you. On hardcore, like on my Lilith kill this season, like the ghost actually killed me in the last like 0.2 seconds of the fight. So I actually would have lost the fight on softcore, but since it was hardcore,
Yeah.
She
even though I
pulled
got
that
one
shit
shot
on
by
me
the ghost.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought the fight was over, so I was like, yay! And then the ghost came out and slapped me, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no!
I also did some random Lilith test, and I also I accidentally dashed out of the arena in phase 1 and procced my cheat death. But then I killed her, and then I went to phase 2, and I also basically insta one-shot her, and I just kept going basically.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's interesting.
My
Definitely
chat
would
is
like-
calling you a log out macro enjoyer. Your opinion is irrelevant.
Hey.
Well, I think
It's a legitimate gameplay mechanic. You know?
Yeah, I actually, well, I like it a lot more, right? Like if we compare Season 0 Diablo 4 versus Path of Exile, in Season 0 Diablo 4, the only time you did was things outside of your control was when you would die. Whereas in Path of Exile, you pretty much never have an unfair death, right? It's pretty much just corpse explosion left. Other than that, you made a mistake and you died in Path of Exile. I think that's great.
There's more than that.
I think there's
like I feel like, especially with new mechanics, people are just not even doing it in hardcore in PoE. They wait for other people to figure it out and die to it, and then they take those lessons. And I mean, that's kind of weird. Let's be honest, that's kind of weird. Like, go back to Asmongold's couch potato gamer example. How does that guy play hardcore in PoE? He doesn't.
I mean, but hardcore's supposed to be a challenge. You are supposed to.
Dads, yeah.
Yeah, you are supposed to like approach things carefully. That's the entire premise, right?
Yeah.
Having someone else die to it before you do is not careful. It's
Why not? How do you think we tested what food groups to eat? I'd be like, hey, Woody, eat this berry. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm not eating that. Right? It's literally the premise.
Yeah, I think that generally, there can never be anything wrong with making hardcore actually difficult. This is like a mode that's like opt-in. It doesn't give you any advantage. This is like made for people that want to have a challenge, right? And
yeah,
you cannot make a mistake by making it difficult. So, everyone who does want difficult content, they can play softcore. It's there. So,
yep, I agree.
I do think the logout macro is better than having a potion, like as somebody who doesn't play hardcore, because it seems like using your logout macro is a decision. And that decision has a cost, right? Of like, you're out of the map or you lose the portal or something like that. You can only do that so many times on a boss fight. So like, it is a decision that is a reaction to something that is happening immediately. Whereas like using the potion is like just saying, hey, if something bad happens, I've got this on.
Yeah,
exactly.
and Scroll of Escape is exactly the same as logout macro, just slightly more powerful because your system could freeze while closing the client in Path of Exile and you could stay in. So Scroll of Escape is slightly stronger. So I actually prefer Scroll of Escape, and I wish we had something like that in PoE. Does suck because, again, if your client freezes, you might just die. But if that's activated automatically on a client crush, then it's just better. And having it as an item too maybe makes it something that you're less likely to use willy-nilly. So I think Scroll of Escape is really good.
Yeah, actually, I find myself really trying to be resourceful with those scrolls. I'm really thinking hey, do I really want to try that now? And also I have proc of the elixir up, for example, and then I was like, do I scroll out now? Do I really want to use it? It's also kind of nice because it's so rare now. I have 3 of them in my stash now or something. It's just I've done a few Liliths. I've used it here in the tier 100 and whatnot, and I have 3 scrolls left or something. And okay, I need 1 for my DC if that happens, and I have 1 extra and.
100%. That's why every time I misclick one, I'm like, no, and I slap my face, and people are like, what happened? Did you die? And I was like, no, I misclicked another Scroll of Escape. It's like, very frustrating.
You should change the keybind.
Well, it's not even the keybind. It's because it's where I put it on the G scroll wheel, and I didn't bother keybinding escape.
Is there any slippage like the logout macro? It's a little bit dangerous, and you're thinking it's logout macro time, but then after you
I would use
you realize it's not PoE, it's not infinite.
No, I didn't hit my hotkey on accident. I put it I put it on G is my open the scroll wheel, and top left is leave dungeon, and just straight left is my Scroll of Escape. So I just need to move it, but all of them were just trying to reset the dungeon. That was annoying. This is bad
maybe
placement.
you put it on the second wheel, and not on the first one.
Yeah.
But be careful because I think that resets all the time, right? There's this bug where your wheel resets. Yeah, only the first one is saved, and the others they reset all the time. At least for me.
It's a good thing I have it on the first wheel then.
Yeah. So I noticed that at least a few times. I had to rebind my.
Shouldn't have told them. That's content.
Damn it.
Halt. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, halt. Actually, one final thing about Season 2 before we move on to the future of Diablo 4. I'd love to talk about how you feel about the different vampiric powers, because personally, I think they did an absolute amazing job. Hemomancy is maybe a little bit dumb not to take for a lot of builds, but at least I don't take it all the time. I don't take it on bosses, etc. And what I really like about it is it gave me the feeling of difficult choices, which is I love when games do that. When I feel like I want this, this, and this, but then I don't get that. It's a great choice.
I think thematically they're very good, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily agree with Hemomancy. Like Hemomancy is good for like leveling, but you're playing a rogue and it's got like physical scaling in it. Like imagine all those powers. I mean, they're vampiric powers. Why is it even physical? Why is it not like shadow?
But I one shot everything at like in even like
right,
the
but it's physical. Rogues have some physical scaling.
right.
Storks
Not
have
really. I don't
no
scale
physical scaling. Yeah, they're all
I don't
physical.
scale physical.
Well, don't you incidentally?
No, I just forced it to be crit and then scale crit.
Okay, sure. But my point is
Yeah.
like, I think thematically they're pretty cool. They certainly change up how you make a character, which is the most important part. I think they do deliver on that end. But yeah, and I think there are some variants. Like I actually think the most powerful one is Ravenous, the one that gives you like 80 attack speed. Like I don't know how that's not the most broken one. Like I think that's maybe even more broken than Metamorphosis, which I think just about everyone has.
Yeah, it's very strong.
I have neither Ravenous nor Metamorphosis, so I'm doing something wrong here, I think.
I'm gonna toilet real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I never did the seasonal quest line, so I don't have the attack speed one.
Oh
It was
man,
like bugged out on the first day. I just never came
you're
back.
playing boomer mode then. You're really missing out. You're using half as many actions.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, aren't you
I
playing
didn't know it
ball
was that
lightning?
good.
Isn't that like pretty key?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea. Like, I mean, I killed Uber Lewis. She didn't do anything. I mean, how much better can it get?
Twice as fast. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, shit. It seems fine to me. Everything was okay. So I didn't have any complaints. But I feel like the blood mechanics they were good. I mean, I liked them. I felt like the balancing the mechanics kind of was like a annoyance at the beginning, or sorry, at the end of the game, and at the beginning it was basically a barrier to using new gear. So I feel like having the different like icons on the gear that you needed in order to activate the blood effects, I felt like that really didn't hit the mark. I feel like it was just annoying at the beginning, and then it was inconsequential at the end. I think that's probably the best way I could say it, actually.
They just kind of wanted to have a system that limits you from having like 5 of the most broken powers. Like if I could have unlimited points, I would actually have a different setup. But
I mean, they could probably solve that by just like making it like okay, like there's no different 3 types of packs. There's just like packs, you know, and just have the same maximum 20, and you have the same, you know, the major costs 6 and the small ones cost 1 to 3, and it could just be like without this little mini game of like, you know, adding this pact and that pact, and you know, like I totally agree with that. It's kind of like, I wouldn't even say annoying. It's just like okay, a time sink for no reason almost, right? Is you have like a bunch of stuff in your inventory. It could just be like, you know, you have that limitation of 20 packs, and it doesn't really matter if there's like different types or something. And that would make it easier. But generally, I think it's not such a big problem, and the powers are pretty well.
It's like an early only thing. So a big like thing I like for solving that issue is that just keep it as it is early game, and then have it be like an unlockable power that you like kill a Uber Lord Zero or something, and then you don't need the things anymore. Then it's just about you have a limited amount of what you can do. Maybe have that be something that even upgrades, so instead of having 20 max, you have 22 max, and you don't need to like balance them.
I mean, yeah, I do agree that the system is tedious, but yeah, it also feels it just feels like it's not the best way to do it. But I don't know. I think the only real issue is the whole clicking and escape thing that we kind of went over it with just getting the powers.
Yeah,
I don't find the gear too tedious. They could have done it better. I just cut them a lot of slack because of the stark difference between the overall Season 2 package and the Season 1 package that we were dealt.
It's a lot better.
Yeah, and there's so many systems, I almost expected more things to go wrong. So, yeah. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from that perspective, I agree. Actually, I mean, the season is fun. I had a lot of fun with the season mechanic. I had a lot of fun trying out different vampire powers, and I think honestly, like almost all of them really have some merit. You know, there are definitely ways to include almost anything into many different builds, and yeah, some may look really good, but then you figure out, okay, there's like this other combo, and suddenly I don't have enough packs anymore to do all of that, and you know, there's definitely decision making much more than with Million Hearts. Right, Million Hearts was just like, okay, you know, Barber OP. And then maybe you drop in like, you know, the revenge heart for defense, and then maybe the auto heart on the necro or the pull heart on the druids, and you were done, right? And this was literally every single build. So, you know, there were like 30 hearts, and like 5 of them were good, and the rest was whatever. And I think that is absolutely not the case. They have a much better balance this time, and that definitely makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah. For the next topic, I want to talk about like what you guys expect and hope to see in like the future. Like, what do you think they should like add, and what direction should they go in that would make you enjoy playing the game for longer, especially as somebody that does play it a lot. So we can start with Woody here, because you play a lot of Diablo 4.
Well, I mean, we already know that something is coming in Season 3, and, well, I guess next week, BlizzCon, we're going to learn more about that.
Yeah.
My expectation would just be that this is something like a Rift system, like in D3, with like randomized content with a scaling difficulty, that it goes way beyond what we have right now, with leaderboards attached to them. So, yeah, basically a copy of D3, just better, I imagine. And, I mean, that is a good start if they do something like that at least. So, we'll see what exactly will be. I mean, for the long distant future, I guess, I would really like to see more different types of like challenging content. You know, we talked about the bosses, and you know, there could be all kinds of things. Right? There could be like farming related things, or like, you know, like speed farming kind of like leaderboards or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? There could be like conquest types where they have like a really hard challenge that you have to unlock once in a season, and you know, maybe I would also like to see more stuff like in PoE with like void stones, for example, or like, you know, something like the Atlas Passageway even, where
or like player
you know,
agency.
yeah, exactly. Where, okay, I can actually like modify my nightmare dungeons, you know, and let's say there's like this one node you get like 50% more butchers, or there's like this one node you get like 50% more bloodseekers, or you get like, you know, more density, you get more, you know, you can maybe choose the drops, you know, maybe you get like plus 100% bows and plus 100% boots or whatever, right? You can like maybe choose these kind of things, and you know, like have some options and feel like you're actually making a meaningful impact in progressing your character, or just like farming the stuff you want to. So this is definitely the stuff that I'm looking for the future for now.
Yeah. Kripp, what about you?
Again, I kind of want to reiterate, I'm pretty happy with what they did this league, or this season. Sorry, I keep calling and mixing it up with PoE. But yeah, for me, the benchmark has been PoE leagues. I'm comparing it to that, and for me, I kind of got like a week worth of gameplay out of it. I feel like the main things they have to do are build upon the game, so they don't scrap too much of the vampire system and everything that has to do with that, and then just add another system next season. Not what they did with season 1 to 2, but I didn't like season 1 that much, so I didn't mind quite as much. I also feel like probably through itemization, I'd like to see them give us kind of broad thematic leanings toward character. Like, I want to make this character a lot more defensive, or I want to make this character a lot more glass cannon. Those decisions aren't really too meaningful, and that's kind of because those options aren't really there with the itemization. You're always kind of similar tankiness and damage. You usually are pretty similar, or you're using the few things that slip through the cracks. But at the same time, yeah, I think they rushed out a lot of mechanics this season. I am expecting the balance to be a bit more tightened next season. Maybe that is too much to expect, though. We'll see. Because I think if you take away like the top like 5 builds in the game, it's like pretty good balance-wise. I think so, anyway.
Yeah, it's even like even the top 3 are the ones that are like super egregious. Even if you remove Ball Lightning and what is it, Death Blow?
Death Blow is a good one, yeah.
Death Blow Overpower is really correct right now. For
Just those 2, and you don't need to remove anything from Rogue. Rogue is great. If you remove those 2, like everything's very, very similar. I think just leave Rogue alone. Rogue enjoyer. Yeah, Asmin, what about you for
What I expect to see, what I hope to see for the
Yeah.
future. Basically, I just hope that they find a way to implement like these seasonal mechanics into the base game and like growing the base game. I think that honestly what they've done so far has been pretty much fine. It's season 2 has been good. The Malignant Hearts were kind of hit or miss. And I think that really just taking kind of like the greatest hits from each season and then putting them into the base game is how you build an ARPG over 10 years or over 5 years or something like that. So there's not really anything super specific that I'd like to see or anything like that. I just want to see them continue taking more risks with each season. And if they don't pan out, then just don't use it next season. And if they do, put it in the core game.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to see a lot of things. Like, I love things. Things are great. I want to see a lot more bosses. Almost everything Woody said as well. More of that. I would love to see a button to remove smart loot. I think my single favorite thing in an RPG, which I think Diablo 4 doesn't do well, is me finding an item and just going, wow, I really want to do this now. And I think it's so limited what you can do with that in D4. Even some of the uniques from bosses are like class specific, like druid, like can drop only druid things, etc. So I would love to see that. Like, yeah, pretty much the only thing that would make me want to do a new build right now was Andariel's Visage. Other than that, I didn't find a single item. You're not going to find like a really cool random glove, an aspect for a sword, or anything like that, right? So being able to disable smart loot would be huge for me. I'd love that.
There are some aspects, just to kind of add on to that a little bit. There's like lucky hit while barrier, but that's like Sork only as an aspect. So they could definitely improve the cross class of some items to accomplish that, which I don't think would be even that hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's my favorite thing in RPGs. So I would love to see more of that in D4. And I think there's like good reasons to have some of it, but it would be cool if it was a choice. This is really great for like a casual player that's only going to play one build anyway. Like, if they're playing a barb, they don't want to see Sork gear. That's fine. But yeah, especially later. And actually, something I want to bring up, I was positively surprised because I didn't play season 1 at all. So I was like, I kept seeing my like gear required level scale as I leveled, and I was like, oh my god, they kept that in the game. But then it stopped at level 80, and I was like, oh my god, yes, that's amazing. I hated that in season 0. Like, I found an item at level 100 and it had required level 100, and I'm like,
level 80 is a lot of levels in season 1 though.
Yeah, for sure. It's
good that it changed it.
Yeah. So that was good, but that's generally the things I want. Just more bosses. I'm kind of disappointed that every boss that's in the base game hasn't been added as a boss already. Like the fact that we got Duriel now, etc. I would have loved to see that like already in the game. Because then, well, if we had like Andariel, Duriel, what's the other weird one?
The guy that was on the Cerberus, what the hell is his name? Astaroth.
Astaroth.
Yeah.
All of those should have been like already in my opinion, as bosses. And then we should have been getting new ones, in my opinion. That would have been like a great baseline to move forward for. So I would be shocked if we don't get Andariel, which also was my favorite fight. That's why I'm kind of jaded. I'm like, that was such a cool fight. Because we did it in a 4-man group. And I found bosses were a lot harder with the more people you had. Like, not easier at all. Whereas when I did a solo, I was like, oh, Andariel's dead. But 4-man group at launch, super hard. And I was like, this is such a cool fight. Can't wait to fight this endgame. And that was the only time I saw her. And I was like, oh, no.
Wait till season 5.
So I'm hoping we get that next season.
I think they're coming at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Andariel, because like one of those bosses where I just felt like I was so underwhelmed by this fight because she just did nothing, I felt. But it's just like maybe like, you know, the first time I went through the campaign, I just like blasted down all the bosses, and I still have not done my RP playthrough. I guess I need to choose like a really, really slow build, and then I can really enjoy the fights.
Yeah, it was just because like we had like we didn't really know what to do with builds and stuff, so like some of our builds were pretty bad in 4-man HP, so we were like, it was like a proper fight for us. We were like, I'm chained. Like, move out, in for more damage. And I was like, oh, this is so fun. So I had a great time with Andariel. What do you guys expect to see? I'm guessing we're not getting a new class until an expansion. But what do you think will be the first one, or will we get two?
It's got to be Paladin, man. Like, I mean, there's no way you can
What
have a
about
Diablo
Fallen?
game and not have some sort of Paladin, Crusader, or like Monk, or like even Monk isn't really the exact same thing, but I think it's gonna be a Paladin.
Yeah, there's no healer class. The only class
Yeah.
that uses shields is Necros, so there's no like Guardian Defender type healer. I think they said it's not going to be a class that has been in another game, but yeah, like Priest, Cleric, use your imagination type of thing.
Yeah, something
I
like
could
that.
see Priest.
Are you excited to roll yet another resistance on your gear?
Wait, why?
Holy resist.
Holy resist.
Yeah.
Mm.
Monsters don't do holy damage. We are.
Yeah,
the
but
holy
what about
ones,
PvP,
don't
man?
you
Like
know?
you can't
Yeah.
stack holy res in PvP. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, and it's a really good damage type because of that. Wait, this has never been done before.
I had to go PvP for a season journey. I like butchered some poor little 26.
You didn't have to. You could skip that.
Oh.
On hardcore or what's this?
Yeah. And what do you mean I didn't have to?
Jesus.
That's cold-blooded, bro.
Savage.
It was a challenge.
He
My
instantly
season journey.
unsubscribed, you know?
Oh, I thought I had to.
No, you only have to do a certain number of the challenges, which is really good because one of them was completely bugged. For me, it wasn't tracking the challenges, and it started tracking them when I was like level 50, and one of the challenges is level to 20. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Gotta do it again.
I just did one
It's
pen
gotta
shot.
make a new character, basically.
Yeah.
And there was one to put a piece of gear with 5 of the same, what are they called? The things for the new mechanic. That one just didn't work. Like,
Traits, yeah.
yeah, I cleared it. I
Yeah,
put
I
5
thought
of
I
the
had to.
same. It didn't work. So it's good that you don't have to do all of them. Like they should definitely keep that because otherwise they're
Yeah.
guaranteeing that they all work, which is tall order.
Well, that's
I
the way a
think.
lot of battle pass tiers work for like
Yeah.
most games, right?
Yeah.
It's just like do whichever ones you think are easier.
Yeah. I really like the season journey. I actually had a lot. I quite like that. I think the rewards were also like pretty good because I that's my least favorite thing of D3. Like there's like a weird subset. There's like I don't know if you guys get this in your chats too, but I get a lot of like D2 and D3 fans that shit on D4. There's so many people that are like, oh, D2 is so much better than D4, and I'm like, okay. And like it's the same thing I said to the PoE people. It's like if you love it so much, go play that game. It already exists, right?
Well, they have been.
But it's like
that's why they're pissed
yeah.
off.
Yeah, I guess. They've been playing the same game for like 30 years. But yeah, a lot of that. And sorry. The thing I was gonna say, the thing I hated in D3 was the season journey with the set items. It's like you finish your season journey, here's your set, here's what to play. You have pretty much no build choice. And I feel like that was like way more limiting than like aspects and stuff in
Here's
D4.
how to have fun.
Yeah, I'm so scared of them adding set items. They were like kind of okay in D2. I'm kind of fundamentally against them. But like D3 set items were like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Was it the first season where they did that? They introduced like the Thorn set for Crusader, and like everyone was loving it. I think it
I
was.
don't remember.
Yeah, I think it
That was
was.
a
I have to go
long
back
time
and think
ago.
about that. Yeah.
I think if they did basically anything else, it would have not been very widespread. I think they lucked out with like creating an entirely new build for like a class that wasn't being played outside of a support role at the time, and everyone's just like, "Oh, Thrones Crusader is so cool." And then they just kind of kept a system that wasn't very good, and I think it was largely because of that. I think the initial reception was good for different reasons.
Right.
I mean, it's the other thing also that D3 has like an extremely casual audience, like even more casual than D4 overall. It's like my guess, and it's just like it has to become such a power crap game, and everyone is just expecting all these like this super fast like sped up progression, and they don't want to grind anymore after like 25 seasons and stuff like that. So it's just that they kind of kept making it more easy and convenient, I guess, with stuff like Hades Gift. But yeah, I think in Diablo 4 this has no place at all. They are kind of doing that a little bit with like the season journey aspects that you can get for certain builds, right? Like for example, last season the Druid, you get like the polarized aspect for free from the season journey, which otherwise is a drop only, and all of the build defining Druid aspects are drop only basically. And like this, they're kind of pushing you in a direction, but I mean, you can still eventually find whatever you want and then swap the build, right? It's not like you are stuck with that. In D3, it's like much more like, okay, you get to 70 and then you start playing that build because you get it. And then maybe sometime down the line you farm up the other set. But yeah, I would really also not like to see that in D4, to be honest. The Hades gift is just like, give people like more of this randomness and this like, choices and decision making than this, okay, like here, have your free, times 200 multiplier and
Yeah. More crafting would be good though. I'd love to see more crafting. Like, I wonder.
Resistance swaps are coming for sure, I think.
Yeah. But just more in general, and like you said, like corruption. Like I think that's like I generally want ARPGs to be very, very different, but that's like a thing I just want in every RPG. Like some way to like risk your item, corrupt it. It's such a fun like at the end feature, and especially since ARPGs are so seasonal. Like you're like kind of last day of playing it. You're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna play something else tomorrow. Corrupt everything, and you're like, oh, but now maybe I want to play a few more days because I hate something crazy. Like that's so fun.
Yeah, and they could actually make it like some really crazy stuff, right? With like higher chances and lower chances, and there could be maybe just corruption that gives you like, like an extra skill even or whatever, right? So suddenly, or you could trigger certain things, or there could be like crazy things, right? In PoE, most corruptions are just outside of like the curse corruptions and the gloves or so, they're like kind of like just stats. But imagine they would actually like build transforming corruptions that you could get on your gear.
Rebuild enabling,
You can get like the extra curses. The max resists are pretty huge for conversion builds.
There are a few things for sure.
Sometimes you get skills, and right now the gem sockets are really tight on a lot of builds, like auras.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But I guess you kind of get the point, right? It would be nice if there was actually some transformative corruptions, basically, much more than just like, okay, I get like +5 res or something.
Yeah, weapons have quite a lot of transformative.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was transformative anything. Like, I want transformative items, paragon things, glyphs. I want transformative
I think that's one
everything.
thing the game misses. It's like, you ever play Vampire Survivors or whatever, and you have like your weapon evolution, and it actually changes what's happening on the screen in like a real way. That's one thing that I wish that Diablo had more of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we're slowly getting there, I think, with the new uniques, for example, like we talked about this earlier, right? Like, there are some of those new effects now, and they're probably like, kind of like dabbling in that, and if they keep adding more stuff like this every season, like in like the same like magnitude of changes, basically, or even more, then I think we're gonna get to a pretty good point there very soon.
True. Oh, another question I really want to get your take on is, what do you think is going to be the big boss in the next expansion?
Mephisto.
Does there have to be one? Oh, in the next expansion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see. I thought you meant the season.
Yeah. No, next expansion. And yeah, there has to be one.
Of course there has to be one, yes.
Yeah.
It's your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Mephisto for sure, I think.
You think so?
I think they
okay.
Yeah, they said. I mean, okay. If you look at the campaign, they have like this cycle. Like there's like this hatred begets terror begets destruction or something. Like this is like part of the campaign. That's like the only thing I remember from the campaign. And it seems like very clearly like like first Mephisto, then it's basically the Diablo 2 combo. First Mephisto, then Diablo, then Baal. I'm pretty sure it's gonna go exactly that way with each having their own expansion.
Okay, I'm not like super keen on the lore and stuff, but I feel like any expansion for any Diablo game has just introduced some random endgame boss that no one even knew existed before. Like they just came up with Baal, they came up with Mal whatever it is in D3. I think D4 we're gonna have the I don't know. Just some other guy. It's gonna be Lucifer or something. Like, okay,
I mean, Baal wasn't something they came up with, but right. Like that was like Act 3. They were like, but anyway, I see what you mean. I have an even spicier take. I think the coolest thing would be Diablo is actually the next expansion boss, and Mephisto is our friend now. That'd be even spicier.
I'm in for that.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen, but that'd be cool.
Yeah, I highly doubt they would do that. I feel like the game is like it's much more like one-dimensional. I'm not sure if they would do something that would have that much depth.
That'd be so cool.
What if?
I mean, to be fair, I think Sis has a good point. Like in the entire campaign, Mephisto is actually somewhat helping you, but he does it for his own gain. He does it like he's still evil, and he's evil, but you still need to cooperate with him, and he needs to cooperate with you, and that is actually really cool. I think that made the story a lot more interesting, and maybe it's gonna keep going like that. Who knows?
And he's so tired. Like, we have like billions of hours farmed in Diablo 2 on Mephisto, right? He's like, okay, these guys have farmed me for so long. Clearly, they're going to keep winning. I'm just going to side with them. Maybe like they'll let me be a little bit evil, and we can just like kill everyone together. This is great. I'm tired of getting farmed. He's learned. No one got farmed as much as him, right? So,
It could always be like a player choice in the campaign too.
Yeah. I wish I got a choice to save Lilith.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Mm.
I'm not like up to speed with my lore, but is there any chance we get like a corrupted Inarius?
No, angels die.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
Right, but do they really die?
Yeah, demons don't, angels do.
Like the big launch of D4 was like Inarius versus Lilith, and like Inarius is just gonzo immediately. It's like, hey guys, I'm dead. And then Lilith is still kind of around in many different ways in the game, but he isn't. Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm like 96% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure demons just respawn. They just like come back and they themselves come back. But angels, their essence makes a new angel. So a new angel's born, but it's not going to be Inarius, I believe.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah,
there's gonna be like another angel who
just make it up and just say, well, he respawned anyway. It was the same guy, and he's back now. And I think that a corrupted
that'd be a fun plot twist.
Yeah, Inarius would be interesting.
Yeah, actually that would be very against current lore, but it would be a very cool thing. Like Inarius comes back and all the angels are like, "Oh no, shit, he's back! This isn't supposed to happen."
It would be funny, but it would be like a pretty big break from their existing lore, I guess. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, you had a cheat death potion. Yeah. Exactly.
You scroll of escape.
Diablo 4 was merely a setback. Yeah.
Shit. That'd be fun. Is there any other topics you guys want to explore before we start wrapping things up?
Oh, I'm chilling, man. I feel like we've talked about pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'd like to know like how much longer are you guys gonna blast the season? Like, okay, we talked about you get like a season out, a week out of the season or something, but are you actually kind of done? Like Kripp, for example, or Asmon, or Sis? Like, how's that from your perspective?
A day or two more. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided.
I'm done. I got my Uber unique and I did everything I want to. And like I said, with the stash stuff and not like feeling a crazy excitement to do a new character, I'm very happy with the time I got out of D4. So I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate 3.
Ooh.
I'm kind of there. I mean, this kind of goes into what we kind of expected out of it. For me, I think if you do 2 characters, you're getting hardcore a week worth of play out of it, and I don't know if they're in a place where they set out a goal and finally tune and hit it right on the nose. I think they just kind of, hope things work out a certain way. But I kind of imagine that this is kind of where they want things. I don't know if you can really expect much more from a D4 season as a ARPG vet playing literally all day long.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I think this might be what we can expect in the future.
Oh, and the last thing to talk about, Cal level was found. Cal level is in the game now.
Well, we're not sure if it's really found or not. Like, so they found that hovel, and I think that they will find it, but they're a lot closer, and it seems like things are actually happening.
Yeah, it's like a cow closet.
I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, not a full level.
I actually watched that a bit. Like my chat told me about this, that you had this guy on your stream, Asmon, and I listened in a little bit, and it was kind of interesting. But now everyone's farming these cows, but I'm like, yeah, okay, you farm like these like 2,000 cows now, and then you can get your stamina potion, and you're probably going to be stuck until like season 4 until we find the next clue. So it's probably all for nothing.
The breakpoint is at 10,000 cows. They're just not going to make it. They're just not going to be dedicated enough.
Yeah, I mean, this, like, the thing is, when people came into my chat while they were doing it, they were like, oh, you only have to kill 666 cows in each region. And I was like, oh, I fell for this scam when I was 8. Like,
no, it's actually 666 million.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, when I was very young, I was playing Diablo 1, and my friend was like, by the way, have you done the cow level yet? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, this doesn't sound real. He was like, you need to talk to the cows 100 times. I was like, okay. I was like, which one? He was like, oh, the one next to Adria. So go down the other one. Dup, 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 dup. I click 100 times and I report back to him like, oh, you got me. I believed you. And he was like, did you click exactly 100 times though? If you click too much, it won't open. I was like, okay. I went back, click, 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 click,
Oh
click.
my God.
And then he was like, wow, I meant to do it twice. And I was like, oh my, I was like 8 or 9. But
There you go.
so when people in my chat were saying this about killing 666 cows, I was like, flashbacks. Not again. I'm not doing this again.
Okay.
Yeah, but apparently, it's,
Go ahead. I look this up here.
no, I was just making a comment. It's true with the 666 cows, though.
Yeah, I know.
Something is.
There, I'm linking it in our chat just so you guys know I'm not completely making this up. But what is your take on the human blood infused PC that Blizzard said they would give out if 666 people gave a quart of blood to the drive? Is this a good idea
What
PR
the
wise?
fuck?
Recent Microsoft acquisition, possible liabilities, lawsuits, HIV infused graphics card. Any takes?
I mean, knowing Blizzard, I'm surprised it's not breast milk infused.
Oh shit. Okay, I mean it's good because like it's good advertisements because everybody's talking about it. It's a bit weird. It's probably like literally one drop of blood, right?
Yeah.
I would be surprised if there's more.
I want. My mind was going blood cooled, like water cooling.
Okay, so it's like, so I see a video from Kripp, like, it was 6 months from now, like, hi guys, Kripparian here, my GPU coagulated. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Non-vegan PC. Yeah, you couldn't even use this.
That is actually real. I'm reading this right.
Yeah, it's real.
Okay, I mean, why not? But I don't
Well,
know. I don't
I
have a strong
mean,
opinion
It
on
gets
this.
talked about a lot.
But I've not heard about this before. But on the other hand, I mean, there are some people that will donate. I'm pretty sure, and it's a thematically fitting idea at least. And I don't mean to have like a big opinion.
I really like what they're doing with the blood drive. Like getting people to donate more, like, is really, really good. I don't know if they could have released some sort of MTX or even given exclusive MTX to people that do donate blood. I think the PC thing is maybe like a bit of a miss.
Aren't you a gamer? Don't you like everything that has to do with PC? You're letting us down, Ziz.
I am letting you down. Yeah, no, that's it. All right. To wrap things up, how about we just give our rating for D4 as it is right now?
No, we have
Okay.
to. No, it needs the context. We have to rate pre-season, season, and season 2. Without the context, it's pointless.
I think that, well, like, preseason, it wasn't very good. Like, whenever the game came out, it wasn't that good. Whenever the first season came out, it was bad. Now, I think that Diablo 4, if you are a casual player, is good. And Diablo 4, if you are a hardcore player, is maybe a bit above mid.
Yeah. Woody?
Well, I think the game has definitely improved a lot already in like the last few months. So we are seeing season 2 now, and it's like if you compare season 2 to season 1, you can definitely see a massive jump in the quality and also the quantity of the changes. Like I think overall the patch is just superb for what we have seen from Diablo 4 so far. And if they keep going with like similar patches, then very soon we're gonna have a really nice game. So yeah, I totally agree. Like from a casual perspective, it's really good. From the high-end perspective, I mean, I don't run out of things to do. It's just because I'm someone who likes to make many builds in a season. Like I'm gonna play like 15 different builds, and I'm gonna like just space it out over the weeks. And I have stuff to do, and I like exploring the different classes and all that. So it's kind of okay, but of course, like long term, we need like a lot more like towards the tail end of the progression, and need more the leaderboard stuff and what we talked about basically. But yeah, in general, I think comparing it to previous patches, we are in a really good spot right now. So if they keep kind of like going in that direction, then we're fine.
Yeah. Kripp?
Well, in my initial review of D4, I gave the game a 6, and I was a little bit optimistic with the changes that they made, because I thought if they're changing everything, that might be because they really thoroughly tested everything and then changed everything. But actually, it turned out that when the game launched in preseason, there were a lot of problems. Every good build had some crazy bug, like crazy bug. Like every single Necro build was taking advantage of guaranteed lucky hit bugs. So it's like just completely crazy stuff. The best builds were just the most bugged builds. So I don't know if I'd even rate it a 6 at the end of seeing how that turned out. And somehow Season 1 was a bit worse. Certainly the patch notes were worse, but playing the game, I don't know if it felt that much worse. I felt like playing the game wasn't as bad as the patch notes maybe made it seem. For Season 2, going through the changes, I was a bit reluctant to be optimistic in a way. It's like, hey, these changes look pretty good, but I don't know, right?
I've been here before.
Yeah, coming in from the last two seasons, preseason and Season 1, where just all the best stuff is completely bugged. Like, I think in preseason, I estimated there's over 1,000 bugs with skills across all the classes. Like, just an insane amount of bugs. Like, nothing really seemed to work how it did. It took, like, the most hardcore theory crafters, like, 2 months of preseason to actually, like, figure out what effects overpower. And then, like, Season 2, it's like, guys, we're redoing it, and it's gonna be good now. And I'm like, we'll see. Okay, it's like, I'm not like, yeah, it's like, no. We'll see is the answer. But I've actually been playing Surprise of Season 2. I'd probably rate it at least an 8. And I really think now they're kind of at the point where they need to figure out, like, how to deliver on this consistently and with a bit more fine-tuning on the balance and with a few less bugs. And yeah, I don't know how much of an effort they had to get here. I don't know. I don't know what stops were pulled, what people were pulled off other projects to make Season 2 happen. I don't know if this is something they will be delivering every season, but I hope it is.
So I would have rated, like, for me personally, and obviously, like, I am a no-lifer, so it is important. The game isn't really for me. You're not supposed to, like, play this for, like, 30-hour sessions, I guess. I would rate Season 0 a 4 out of 10, I think. When it all comes to it, I didn't play Season 1. I think that was really good for me and really healthy, because as somebody that no-lifes it, if I was playing every season, that was maybe a bit not a lot to do. And I'm very happy with the direction they're going. So I give Season 2 a 6 out of 10 for me. Like, I think they've added a lot of things. I think it needs a lot more for people like me, but I think it'll get there. So I give current one a 6 out of 10. Like, I had a lot of fun, but, like, I'm already out of stuff after, what, 4 or 5 days now? So just want more stuff to do, basically. But very happy with what they did this season. Just needs more stuff. And, oh, by the way, for context, 6 out of 10 for me is very high. I give PoE a 8.
Wow.
How do you give it an 8? You put 30,000 hours in that game.
Yeah, it's an 8. It's alright. You know, it's whatever, bro.
I give some seasons a 9. It's just because I play the game so much. Like, I give Calandra a 5 and, like, Sanctum and Sentineling a 9. But it's like my favorite game. Like, I mostly play RPGs because I'm a streamer. If I wasn't a streamer, I would only be playing PvP games, like degenerate PvP games, like Darkfall Online, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fair to give PoE an 8 from your perspective, because if you're like such a hardcore blaster and you do it every day and it's kind of like, you know, your life, then you also see the downsides of the game, right? You see like you get to experience them, right? Where like a casual might just like ignore them and he's gonna have fun with like the fun parts of the game.
Yeah, like the best game of all time is Darkfall Online, and then just generally love PvP games like DayZ, Tarkov. PvP's so fun. There's no PvP in ARPGs. There's some in D4, but I'm like,
Alright, Mister, I killed a new player in the PvP zone because it was a challenge.
Okay, but I wish there was a way to arrange like tournaments.
Maybe we're gonna get something for PvP at some point. Who knows? Right?
I hope so.
I mean, it's probably not a priority, and definitely it should not be a priority right now. But eventually, when the game is actually like in a spot where we're like all happy, then why not invest a bit of the side development time on some PvP stuff. So that could
Yeah.
definitely happen.
Awesome. But yeah, I think that's all we have for this podcast. We can just end with shout outs, and again, like, huge thank you to all of you for joining me. And yeah, getting Asmon to reply was a bit of a trouble, but I'm glad you're all here.
Hey, it's like an RNG thing. Like every 10 messages is a reply, something like that. Yeah, I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me. I had a good time, and always glad to come on and talk about video games.
Awesome. Woody, where can people find your channel?
Well, you see my name here somewhere.
Yeah.
Wudijo. So this is where I have my channels on Twitch, on YouTube. I have a Discord server with like 90k members. You can find that as well if you want to be in touch. And yeah, from my perspective, it was really fun to hang out here with you, talk about the game. Excited to do this again. And yeah, let's see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Kripp?
And this has been your local Kripparian here. Thank you guys for listening to us ramble collectively. And hopefully you've had some value and learned a few things about our opinions and have made them your own. Yes.
And Asmon?
You guys want to follow me? That'd be cool. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. That's about it.
Awesome. And I am Zizaran on everything. Again, thanks for all watching, and we'll see you for season 3.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you later.
Awesome.
Thank you. Ciao.
That's it.
Peace.
All right. I'll see you
y'all
guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty.